close the doors of your mind from all carnal will, all carnal thought, all emotions, all desires, all fears. Close the doors of your house, your bayith, your ahal, your ohel, your tent, your mishkan, your mikdash, your ohel, your hayikal within yourself, and bring your mind, your thoughts to center. Bring your heart and your mind to center within yourself, within your 12 cranial nerves, within your 12 mumbling centers, within your yad and your kaf, within your regal. Where you walk by the way, when you lie down, when you rise up. Use the body that Yahuwah has given you as an instrument of righteousness, sadiq and sadaqah. For today is a day of freedom. Today is a day that Yahuwah has given to us to understand his Bina Hamada'ah within ourselves, that we may understand how to walk in this world full of many creatures and things that Yahuwah created. And many human beings with different personalities and thoughts and minds in this world. For we live in this world, we are not of it. As long as you live in the world, you have to interact with these things on the earth. For today we acknowledge the one who made all the heart of the earth, all the rivers and streams and all the things that we see on the earth, all in the heart on the surface of the earth, the mountains on the surface, all the mountains in the heart under the earth, and all the actual water, the meme that flows from his throne, from his Qahalath, his sapphire throne, to us, that we may understand what it's like to walk in righteousness. For we need water, we need olives, we need the sun to make lakam. And all these things that he gives to us, and the understanding of it, even as you let a lakam bake in the sun, you're now allowing it to be charged by the frequency of the actual 12 rays of light. But we look in ourselves and we look in our inward man, and we look at our own selves as that vessel that must possess the Ruach Qahalath continually. So as we move forward in that truth. Right? So this is the 15th day of the second month. The 15th day of the second month, where we look at all these traits and attributes that Yahusha did while he was on earth, while he walked in the world and he lived in the world, and he lived according to a certain pattern. And that pattern is both for Zakar and Nakubah, for male and female. And you have to remember it. You have to make sure that you keep it. And then of course we know this is the month of flowers, the month of Zu, the month of Ziv, like they would say. All these things are a part of your transformation. And you must continue in this word, no matter what may come, no matter what may be said, no matter what may come at you, whether it's rich or poor, poverty or riches, whether you're single, whether you don't have no one, whether you're alone, or whether you have Nashim or you have Yishar, or whether you have nothing. You still have to continue on in his debar, and you'll be his disciple indeed, and you will know the truth, the Amath, and the truth will make you free. Right? So this is all a part of it. Right? This is Bereshit chapter 1, verse 26. Then Yahuwah Elohim said, let us make Adam in our image and after our likeness. Right? So he made you in his image and likeness from the beginning. He always has, and this always will be like that. And let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, the Dagah, and over the oath of the Shamayim, and over the livestock, the Bahima, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So you must have dominion over all these things. And if you have to literally have your mind fixed on these things and understand what you have to be dominant over, right, or dominion, right? So that word for dominion is radah. It means to rule. So you have to have rule. You have to have a rulership in yourself. You have to have a rulership over yourself. You have to have a rulership over you, and that's Yahuwah himself, and it's Ben Yahusha. And even in the order of a household, man, woman, and Yalad and Malachi, right? There's a dominion, right? Dominate. It also means to tread down, to have dominion, to subjugate. Everything has to be subjugated under you. That's Adam. When he gave that commandment to him, everything has to be subjugated under him. If it's not, he has to get it to the point where it is subjugated under him. And if not, people will have a serious problem with the authority figure, which is Adam, in this situation. Now, when we look at Yahushua Mashiach coming back, he said every knee gonna bow and every tongue will confess. Why? He has to put everything subjugated under his feet. The very thing he said, sit here at my right hand in the book of Psalms, so I make thy enemies thy footstool. Right? Because he's always trying to understand that he has to subjugate everything under his feet. It says to cause to dominate. It also means to tread down, to subjugate. Right? So subjugate means to bring a person, group, or nation under complete control. So he wants complete control. So just as the body is subject to Yahushua Mashiach, or Yasharal is subject to Yahushua Mashiach, so let the Ishah be in everything. Right? But we look at all these traits of the attributes of Adam. And Adam always had this actual subjugation. It means also complete control, typically by force, but not necessarily, because Yahuwah gives a man free will, man or woman free will to do what they're going to do. But at the same time, when Yahushua come back, it will be all by force. Even if you get thrown in Sheol, it'll be by force. He's just going to force you to be in a place where you don't want to be. So if you willfully do it now, then it won't be by force when Yahushua returns. Conquering them. So that's what he's coming to do. He's coming back to conquer, because everybody's now becoming as if they are the most powerful. That's how it is in a household. Everybody will eventually rise up and think they're more powerful than the one who rules the house. But at the same time, that's the way the truth is. Or making them submissive, right? So making you submissive or subordinate. It's all a part of it. So we look at all these traits that Yahushua did while he was here for 40 days. So we're 29 days since the 16th day of Aydah, or the 17th day of Chag Matsah, when Yahushua rose on the third day of Chag Matsah. So he rose on the third day. That was 29 days ago. He says, so how are you doing? That's all you got to say. How am I doing? Since having that intellectual properties and understanding. 28 days since Yahushua appeared in the house with his disciples and revealed himself on the fourth day of Chag Matsah. Why? Because he sent a woman to tell them. He's going to meet with them, right? So how are you doing from 28 days ago? Then it's 20 days since Bakur waving the sheaf or the omer on the 49th day, on the count, 49-day count toward the 50th day. There are 29 days left. There are 29 days left. It's a countdown. So how are you doing from there? These are all the understandings. And when you see how you're doing and how you're operating, then you can see your sins. You can see your faults. You can see your defects. You can see who you are. You can see how you're in need of your Ruach Kadash. You can see how you're in need of Yahushua Mashiach. You can see. If you can't see that, then Yahuwah has blinded you and closed your eyes, give you the Ruach of deep sleep. Eyes you cannot see and ears you cannot hear, unless you hear with your ears and see with your eyes and hear with your ears and understand with your heart, and you be converted and you be healed. But I guess if you can't see it, then Yahuwah did it to you. This is Acts chapter 1 and 1. In the first book, O Theophilus, I have dealt with all that Yahushua began to do and teach, right? So there's the first book. So I mean, it must be a second and a third. But it says, until the day when he was taken up. So until he was taken up. After he had given commandments through his Kudash Ruach to the Shalakim whom he had chosen, right? Many are called, but few will choose. Or many are called. I haven't called you because you are more in number, but you are few. So please don't be thinking you're going to have a whole bunch of people want to do this. No, you're not. It's not going to be that way, right? He say 8 souls with Nuach. So how many souls you think you're going to? How many people? He presented himself alive to them, and after his suffering by many proofs. Like nobody want to see a man suffering. You want to hear somebody talk about your suffering all the time. Well, you had to hear about it for 40 days. I don't want to hear about your suffering anymore. You think it's all about you? You think it's all about you? You think this whole Torah all about you? And he said, search the scriptures, and you can chapter 5. In them you think you have eternal life? It's testifying about me. So yeah, it is all about him. It's all about a man. And that man was literally explaining to him for 40 days, male and female, all about him. It was all about him for 40 days. It wasn't about you, it wasn't about anybody else. It was all about him. Why? Because in order to understand it, you had to understand him. Appearing to them during 40 days and speaking about the Malkuth of Yahuwah. Why? Because the Malkuth was within you. It's inside of you. Right? That's literally the Malkuth before the foundation even start. You got to understand the Malkuth inside of you. The foundation can't even start before that, let alone get to the Tikvarat. It says, and while saying with them, he ordered them not to depart from Jerusalem. He said, don't go nowhere, but to wait for the promise of the Father. So if they was in Jerusalem during the second month, 15th day of the second month, what were they doing? They were keeping Chag Matsah. And what else? It says, you heard from me. It says, wait for the promise of the Father, which he said, you have heard from me, for you cannot immerse with Ma'im, but you will be immersed with the Kudash Ruach not many days from now. Not many days from now. That's what he said. Right, this is Shir HaShalomah, Song of Solomon, chapter 2, 8 through 12. So this Shir HaShirim, right, you go right here, Shir LaShalomah, right? It says, the voice of my beloved, O Daoud, behold, he comes, leaping over the mountains, bounding over the hills. My beloved is like a gazelle or a young stag. Behold, there he stands behind our wall, right? Gazing through the windows, looking through the lattice, right? So look at all these things of the actual nature itself, and then you start seeing somebody looking through the windows, looking through the lattice, right? My beloved speaks and says to me, arise, my love, my beautiful one, and come away For behold, the winter is past, and the rain is over and gone. So you look at all the winter is now gone, but he said now the rain is over too and gone. And what happens? The flowers it says the flowers appear on earth. Why? Because this is the second month. This is the month of flowers. The time of Zamir has come. The time of singing has come. That's what that word for singing right here. The time of Zamir is come. And the voice of turtle doves is heard in our land. It's all heard, right? The actual turtle doves. That word for flower is Natsar. Natsar. It means to blossom. It means to flower. Like it's not like zizis, right? Zizis means to blossom too, or parak. But it's what? Natsar, right? It means to blossom. It means flower, right? So you look at the noon and the sod and noon, right? So noon, it means life, right? Resprout, seed, continue. It means potentiality, son of man, capable of moving in many directions, right? We're talking about life, right? Because that's what happens when rain is over and then now the flowers appear. And then that word for you got sod, it means host or insect. All right, remember that. That's what you see outside right now. You see a bunch of insects outside because the flowers are now appearing. That's why he put that sod right there in this word, in this for the second month, because it's the month of flowers. That's how complex it is. Adversary, right? Because we know the adversary is around right now, right? That's what he's doing right now. It says transformation, right? And you being transformed, and amazingly, how the sun goes to the longest day, you get transformed. It means winged creature, warrior, victory, saddle, because that's when we went off to war. We went off to fight, to make sure everybody was safe in the house, to make sure everybody was safe in Jerusalem. That's what we did. It means to chase, to hunt, right? You got to leave the house to go hunt, get chase, to get things. Man of side, desire, right? Because you know we got noon again, right? So then the tsar, right? So you look at all these attributes of this one word, but then you look at host and insects, right? So that word for turtle doves, it's Torah. Torah. It means turtle dove, right? That's what it means in that verse. Torah. It's Torah, turtle dove. Tu wu rash. Right, just going over terms right now, but it says, continuing on, verse 13. Song of Solomon. The fig tree ripens, right? So the fig tree ripens. That happens in the summertime, right? Fig tree ripens and the vines are in blossom. They give forth fragrance. They give forth fragrance. Arise, my love, my beloved one, and come away. Why? Right. So this is the book of Matthew. This is the book of Matthew. This is the book of Matthew, chapter. Yes, John. This book of Matthew, chapter 21. And 18. Matthew chapter 21 and 18. Matthew 21:18. In the morning, as he was returning, right? So that's the morning sacrifice. So we get into the habit of Bekar Erev. This came returning to the city. He became hungry, right? So everybody becomes hungry. If you're in the flesh, if you're not hungry, then something's wrong with you, right? You're gonna get hungry. And seeing a fig tree by the wayside, he went to it and found nothing on it but only leaves, right? So you look at all these things that one goes through in the cycles, right? You go through all these cogs and mu'ah, and he still say, ain't no leaves on here. And he went to it and found nothing on it but only leaves. And he said to it, may no fruit ever come upon you again. Why? That's what happens when you get frustrated in the flesh. You're hungry and you need something to put in your body. He experienced that. And the fig tree withered at once, and he spoke to it, and he said rash words out of his mouth. He spoke rash words. He cursed the tree. And that's what we do. We'll say rash words out of our mouth. We'll curse each other's life because we're hungry or we need something. We're hungry and we need something, so we end up start cursing other people's life. We start mumbling, grumbling, complaining because we need something, and we end up saying something rash out of our heart and our mind. And that's what he just did to this fig tree. Because he was frustrated, right? That's what you call frustration. Here's Yahusha getting frustrated, right? Like he's the perfect, like this being, you say he don't get frustrated. He's frustrated. That's why he did that. May no fruit come on ever again. And the fig tree withered at once, and that fig tree died. That's what happens to you when people speak negative words. Words do have power. And then when you look at water, water has memory. Now you can go look at the experiments. They call it a water experiment. When they put things in the water and they spoke to the water, and the water had certain types of patterns with it, depending on what type of vibrational frequency that you set on your mouth. That's both male and female, right? You can destroy everything with your mouth, your tongue. And it says, may no fruit come again. And the fig tree withered at once. And when the disciples saw it, they marveled, saying, how did this fig tree wither at once? And Yahushua answered them, truly I say to you, if you have a munah and do not doubt, you will not only do what has been done to the fig tree, but even to say to this mountain, be taken up and be thrown into the sea, and it will happen. So when you have a munah, and when you speak with a munah, things are going to happen. And you believe, it's going to happen, and you speak with a munah. And if you really want it to happen and you did it with a munah, I assure you that person's life is going to be destroyed. I assure you that. And these are the points where some people can't have a munah like that, that gift like that. Right? You can abstain from intercourse and have this special type of munah, but then you use your munah and you end up destroying people. But it says, be taken up and thrown into the sea, and it will happen. And whatever you ask in prayer, you will receive if you have a munah, right? So if you have that, then what happens? And these are all at once, right? Going to the book of Matthew 24. We almost get out of here. Matthew 24:32. Matthew 24:32. From the fig tree, learn its lesson. As soon as its branches become tender, it puts out its leaves. You know that summer is near. Right? You look at an apple tree, you see the summer. You know that summer here. So also, when you see all these things, you will know that it is near. When? And at the very gates. Truly I say to you, this generation will not pass away till all these things take place. Right? So all this takes place on it, right? So this is the book of, going back to Song of Solomon, chapter 2 and verse 14. O my dove, my Una, in the clefts of the rocks. He's talking about birds. Because what do you see now? You see birds, you see a dove, you see turtle doves. And it says, in the clefts of the rocks, in the crannies of the cliff, let me see your face. Right? He's talking to Una. Let me hear your voice, for your voice is sweet, or irab. Right? Why would they put that word for sweet? They put arab. Right? The same word you will have, irab, you will have for evening sacrifice. And your face is lovely. Why? Because that's where you're gonna meet. That's where you meet with people at. When you look at morning sacrifices and evening sacrifices. And he said, for your voice is sweet. This is a feminine nature talking. This is a feminine nature talking. And guess what? Verse 15. Catch the foxes for us, the little foxes that spoil the vineyards. Now she's telling you to do what a man does. That's literally what she just said. She said, your voice is real sweet and your face is lovely. Like you look real good. And that's great. You know, it's a lot of people that look really good, right? Look at their feminine nature. Or they look real good. Or she look real good. But he said, catch the foxes for us, right? So that means you got to submit yourself one to another. The little foxes that spoil the vineyards. For our vineyards are in blossom. Why? Because that's what he put Adam in the garden to do. Didn't he not put Adam in the garden to guard and protect the vineyard, the Canaan, Yahuwah's garden? So therefore, go catch the foxes and the little foxes. Because that's what he put you in the garden to do. Because a woman can't do it. How fast is a woman? My beloved is mine and I am his. He grazes among the lilies. Right? Because it's called the field of flowers. That's what this month is. It's called the field of flowers. It's called the month of flowers. And the foxes are out and you have to go chase them down. Right? So this is 12 Patriarchs, Testament of Yehuda. 12 Patriarchs, the Patriarchs, Testament of Yehuda. Testament of Yehuda. Testament of Yehuda, chapter 1. Testament of Yehuda, chapter 1 and verse 1. Actually, verse 2. And they gathered themselves together, therefore, and came to him. And he said to them, Hearken, my children, to Yehuda your father. I was the fourth son to my mother, Yaakov, and Leah, my mother, named me Yehuda. Why? Because his name means praise. Saying, I give thanks to Yahuwah. Why? I give thanks to Yahuwah. That's what Marim said in the house all day with the priest. Because he has given me a fourth son, right? He gave me a fourth son. And I was swift in my youth. She said, I was fast. See, you can't catch foxes and little foxes if you ain't fast. I was swift in my youth and obedient to my father in everything. So are you obedient to Yahuwah in everything? Just like he says, have dominion over everything, to make submissive. Just like a woman submits in everything and you submissive each to everything. So he said, I was submissive to my father in everything, and I honored my mother and my mother's sisters. Right? And it came, my family member. And it came to pass when I became a man, right, so you got to become a man, that my father barak me, saying, Thou shalt be a king, a malak, prospering in all things. And Yahuwah showed me favor in all my works, both in the field and in the house. So where's she at? He said, go catch some foxes out in the field, right? And she talking about in the clefts of the rocks and somebody looking in the window. She talking about him. He outside, and he's like, come looking in the window. Your voice is sweet and you lovely to look at. You go catch those foxes for me? Because the vineyards are in blossom and they're going to destroy the vineyards. He said he will barak in the field. Going back to Testament of Yehuda, and it says, it says, and Yahuwah showed me favor in all my works, both in the field and in the house. And I know that I raced, they harmed. Right? I mean, how fast he was. And I caught it and prepared the food for my father and did eat. And the roles I used to master in the chase. That's what we talked about. Dominion. And overtake all that was in the plains. A wild mar I overtook and caught it and tamed it. Because you got to have dominion over all the fishes of the sea, the god of Ramiz, the oath, and the behemoth. That's what he did. That's what a man do. He tames an animal. And I slew a lion and plucked a kid out of its mouth. He said, I did just like Dawid. Because Dawid learned it from him. And I took a bear by its paw and hurled it down the cliff, and it was crushed. He said, I beat that bear down. And guess what he did? And I outran a wild boar and seizing it as I ran, and I tore it asunder. Why? Where you see these animals at? And then people say, where are you located? And guess what it says? A leopard in Hebron leaped upon my dog, and I caught it by the tail. And it hurled it on the rock, and it was broken in twain. I found a wild ox feeding in the field and seizing it by its horns, and I whirled it around and stunning it. And I cast it from me and slew it. Right? And when the two kings of the Canaanites came in sheathed in armor against our flocks, and much people with them, single-handed, I rushed upon the king of Hazor and smote him on the greaves and dragged him down, and so slew him. Right? That's what Yehuda is. But she's saying, going back to Song of Solomon, chapter 2, and verse 15. Catch the foxes for us and the little foxes and spoil the vineyards, for our vineyards are in blossom. Right? That's what each do. That's what a man is. My beloved is mine, and I am his. He grazes among the lilies. He sits in the middle of the flowers. He said, hey, man, he do all this stuff. And then he go sit in flowers. Until the day breathes and the shadow flee. Right? He does that all day. He does that when the morning, until the day breathes, when the sun rises, and when the evening. Right? That's what that is. When the day breathes, that's morning sacrifice, and when the shadow flees, that is the evening. Aydah. Turn, my beloved, be like a gazelle or a young stag on the clefts of the rocks. Right? Right. So that word for breathes is puak. He said until the day puak. He said to breathe, to blow, to exhale, to puff, to inflame. But it also means to speak. Right? To pant for it. To pant for it. Right? Because it's the month of flowers. Right? So it's a month of flowers, right? That's a lavender flower. Just like any other flower you see, that's the lavender flower, right? And all these things that take place during the month of flowers, right? So lavender, or lavandua, august folia, it says offers significant research-backed benefits, including reduced anxiety, right? Improved sleep quality, pain relief, right? So look at pain relief. Look at all these things, improved sleep quality, and enhanced skin health. Its active compounds, or linalool or linalool or acate, promote relaxation by reducing heart rate and blood pressure, right? All these are part of your natural man. It is used in an aromatherapy teas and topically to ease stress, treat minor wounds, and calm inflammation, right? Inhaling lavender essential oils reduces anxiety, right? So you look at that sitting in the field of flowers. So if you were sitting in the field of lavender, now there are many types of flowers in the world, but say you're sitting in the field of lavender, how would you feel in the middle of lavender? What type of healing would you get in the field of lavender versus a field of weeds? Often inducing a rest and digest state that slows rapid breathing, right? So you rapid breathing, you say, I can't breathe. You say it slows it down. Now we talked about being slow and you say overlooking offenses or pasha, right? It slows rapid breathing. It is used in aromatherapy to improve sleep and ease tension, right? Because it's a lot of tension. Right? It's good to burn lavender, right? Why? Because it's a part of it. Lavender containing linalool, it acts as a natural repellent for mosquitoes, right? So you don't like insectoids. Remember we just talked about Natsar. Natsar, right? Natsar, right? What was that? That was the word for flowers. And we had the sod in there, it had insects in there. It had insects in there. Because it's winged creatures, insects. Natural repellent for mosquitoes, flies, right? So you don't like flies, fleas, right? Moths, right? And certain ants, right? It says it is particularly effective when planted near seeding areas and used in dried, hanging sachets to deter insects from entering homes. It is also known to help repel spiders and ticks, because nobody likes ticks, and even rodents. Yeah, ticks. You know, little things that get into your skin. Yeah, those things, lavender gets rid of ticks. And even rodents, right? So why is this all important? This is all important. This is Exodus Shemot chapter 16, 1 through 3. And they set out from Elim, and all the congregation of the people of Yasharal came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month. That's what today is. Today is the 15th day of the second month. After they had departed out of the land of Mizraim, just like we did Chag Matsah, where Yahushua was slain in between the sun on the first day of the 14th day in between the suns, but then now the 15th day was like symbolizing coming out of Mizraim. And now we're in the second day, the 15th day of the second month. And guess what? And after they departed out of the land of Mizraim, and the whole congregation of the people of Yasharal grumbled against Mashah and Aharon in the wilderness, right? Why? Because that's 29 days later. They grumbled against Mashah and Aharon in the wilderness. How many times have you grumbled in the 29 days, 28 days, or 20 days, right? Since doing all these things, these attributes, these offerings, how many times you mumble, grumble, complain since then? And he says, and the whole congregation of people of Yasharal grumbled against Mashah and Aharon in the wilderness, and the people of Yasharal said to them, and they start talking, would that we have died by the hand of Yahuwah in the land of Mizraim when we sat by the meat pots and ate bread to the full. He said, man, we should have just died out there. Why we out here doing all this other stuff? Why we got to do all this extra stuff? For you have brought us out to this wilderness, Midbar, to kill the whole assembly with hunger. That's what I told you. That's a frustration. That's what Yahushua did to that tree. He went around, he was hungry, and he cursed that fig tree. Because he's frustrated, because they're hungry. You start saying things out of your mouth, and you can literally destroy things with your tongue. Because you frustrated. Because you, right? And these are all a part of the self-control aspect of oneself. Right? So that word for grumble is loom. Yeah, loom. It means loom. It means to lodge, to pass the night. It means to grumble, complain, murmur. To cause to grumble, right? What caused them to grumble? Food. Because they couldn't eat what they want to normally do. I mean, why do you think this is second Chag Matsah? Because you can't eat anything you want to do. That's the reason why. So I can't eat nothing I want to eat anymore. So they start grumbling and complaining because they want to go do the things because their flesh rising up and they got to do it again, a second time. And they don't like it. And it's rationed out food. And that's what happens. And it says to stop. You know how you ever have somebody walking and they just stop and you can't go anywhere, just stop just to frustrate you on purpose? You be like, man, I'm trying to go forward. And you stop. You be like, why are you stopping? Just to annoy you? Because I'm frustrated and I'm hungry? It means to be obstinate, to complain, to grudge. That's what happens. All night. It will happen all night. They'll grudge you all night. Right? Murmur, remain, tarry, all night. But when you get intelligence, you stop. Right? This is going to continue on, Exodus 16:4. Then Yahuwah said to Matsah, behold, I am about to rain bread from Shamayim for you. Right? So he's going to do it for you. And these are all a part of the attributes of the second month. What do you think he's doing it for Yahushua for? And the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day. Why do you think you count on an omer for 50 days? Why are you counting it for 50 days? Every day that I may test them. That's the only reason he's doing it. Why he think he giving bread and he lets you know the very thing that you talked about or the bread that you got, you get tested on it. See, I told you wasn't there yet. You didn't do that and you didn't do that. And you didn't do that. Matter of fact, when that situation came, you did that instead of doing this. And these are all a part of it. Whether they will walk in my law or not. See, these are all, that's why he's doing it. That's why we got 40 days, 49 days of it. You need to interact with people. Because I need to see if you really, 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 really are obeying the Torah. That's why Yahushua here for 48, cracking the whip. And on the 6th day, when they prepare what they bring in, it will be twice as much as they gather daily. So Matsah and Aharon said to all the people of Yasharal, at evening you shall know that it was Yahuwah who brought you out of the land of Mizraim, because they keep thinking of him. He said, you brought us out here. He said, I didn't do nothing. I didn't bring you here. He'd be like, I hate where you bring me at. He said, I didn't bring you here. And in the morning you shall see the kabod of Yahuwah. He said, then you're going to see it. Because he had heard your grumbling against Yahuwah. For what are we that you grumble against us? He said, who the heck are we? And Matsah said, when Yahuwah gives you in the evening meat to eat, in the morning give you food to eat, and in the morning bread to your full, because Yahuwah has heard your grumbling. He said, I'm going to give you some flesh. And guess what? That you grumble against him, what are we? Your grumbling is not against us, but against Yahuwah. He said, ain't got nothing to do with me. Then Matsah said to Aharon, say to the whole congregation of the people of Yasharal, come near before Yahuwah, for he has heard your grumbling. And as soon as Aharon spoke, the whole congregation of the people of Yasharal, they looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the kabod of Yahuwah appeared in the cloud. Behold, he come with clouds, and every eye gonna see him. And all the tribes shall wail because of him. And Yahuwah said to Matsah, I have heard the grumbling of the people of Yasharal. So you think Yahuwah don't hear you now? He said, I even hear the cursing that you do inside of yourself. Your kula, your kulala. And guess what? Say to them at twilight, at evening, at eve, you shall eat meat. They want that meat, right? And in the morning you shall be filled with bread. Because you know what happens? And this is, and then you shall know that I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. He said, I'm going to give you that. Right? Just like he gave Nuach all of that stuff, right? Right, so this is the book of Yuchanan, chapter 6, verse 65. John chapter 6, verse 65. John chapter 6. John chapter 6, verse 65. John chapter 6 and verse 65. Six and 60. 6 and 60. And when many of the disciples heard it, they said, this is a hard saying. Who can listen to it? But Yahushua, knowing in himself that his disciples were grumbling about this, when they just doing that here? When they just doing that in the wilderness? You think Yahuwah don't hear your grumbling? You think Yahushua Mashiach don't hear your grumbling? And he says, about this, he said to them, do you take offense at this? Oh, there we go. you offended. Right? Because of what he said. Because he said some things. And we talked about this already, but he said, then wait. He said, then what if you were to see the son of Adam ascending where he was before? It is the Ruach that gives life. The flesh is no help at all, because if you think about the flesh, it's death. That's why you eat dead things. But guess what? The words that I've spoken to you are Ruach and they are life. He said, that's what they're speaking. That's Ruach. But there are some of you who do not believe. He said, who already know you don't believe. He said, there are some who don't believe. For Yahusha knew from the beginning who those who did not believe and who it was who would betray him, right? That's what we just read in the beginning. Let us make Adam in our own image and likeness. We just read it. Let us make Adam in our own image and likeness. He already knew from the beginning. And guess what it said, verse 65? And he said, this is why I told you that no one can come to me unless it is granted him by the Ab. He said, nobody gonna do this. Because Yahuwah allowed it to happen. And guess what, verse 66? And after this, many of his disciples turned back, no longer walked with him. Of course they're not. Because he's saying things that you're not really understanding and you're not willing to do. They're no longer walking with him. He said, you're going to leave. So Yahusha said to the 12, do you want to go away as well? He said, first he said, we ain't got no money. We can't do this. We got to abstain from this. And then you're talking about eat your flesh and drink your blood. Man, you crazy. Do you want to go as well? Simon Kafsa answered, Master, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life, and we have believed, and have come to know that you are the Kudash one of Elohim. Yahusha answered him, did I choose you? Did I not choose you, the 12? And yet one of you is a Satan, a devil. Right, going back to Exodus 16:21. Exodus 16:18. But when they measured, actually going to Exodus 16 and 13. And in the evening, quail came up and covered the camp. And in the morning, dew laid around the camp. And it says, in the morning, dew lay around the camp. And when the dew had gone up, there was on the face of the wilderness a fine flaky like thing, fine frost on the ground. And when the people of Yasharal saw it, they said to one another, what is it? That's what it is, mon. For they did not know what it was. And Mashah said to them, it is the bread that Yahuwah has given you to eat. This is what Yahuwah has commanded. Gather of it, each of you, as much as you can. You shall each take an omer, according to the number of the persons that each of you has in his tent. And the people of Yasharal did so. And they gathered some more, some less. But when they measured it with an omer, whoever gathered much had nothing left over, and whoever gathered little had no lack. Right? So it's all about balance. And guess what happened? Each of them gathered as much as he could eat. And Mashah said to them, let no one leave any of it over till the morning. But they, what did they do? But they did not listen to Mashah. He said, don't let none of it what? Leave any of it over till the morning. Isn't that what we do during Prasad? But they will not listen to Mashah. Of course they not. Even though Yahuwah does something for you, it doesn't matter. They're not going to listen to you, even if you tell them something. Because you know what happens? That's just the way it's always been since the beginning. And Mashah said to them, let no one leave any of it till the morning. Verse 20, but they did not listen to Mashah. Some left part of it till the morning, and the bread and the worms stank. That's what he was trying to avoid. I'm trying to avoid a stench and stinky things going around. I don't want things filthy around. But they ain't going to listen to him. And Mashah was angry with them. That's what's going to happen. You get frustrated. You're going to get angry because they ain't listen to you. That's just a part of it. Morning by morning, they gathered it. Did it say Mashah was never angry? He just got angry right here. Morning by morning, they gathered it, each as much as he could eat. But when the sun grew hot, it melted. It says, and on the 6th day, they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers each. And when all the leaders of the congregation came to told Mashah, he said to them, This is what Yahuwah has commanded. Tomorrow is a day of solemn rest. Shabbat. To Yahuwah. Bake what you will bake and boil what you will boil. And all of it that is left over lay aside and be kept till the morning. So they laid it aside till the morning, and as Matsah commanded them, and it did not stink. That's all he was trying to do. I don't like things smelling like a certain way. Nobody want to be in a place that stinks. And there were no worms in it. Nobody wants that. He's like, okay, they did exactly what I said, therefore it doesn't stink. There ain't no worms. Thank you. They finally listened. And Matsah said, eat it today, for today is a Shabbat to Yahuwah. Today you will not find it in the field. 6 days you shall gather it, but the 7th day, which is Shabbat, there will be none. Right? What's the other part? Right? Going to verse 27. And on the 7th day, some of the people went out to gather, but they found none. Right? So you're always going to have people who won't listen all the way. He gave a commandment, but they ain't listen all the way for some reason. Right? This is the book of Yehukanan. This is Yehukanan. This is the book of Yehukanan, chapter 13 and verse 9. Yehukanan chapter 13 and verse 12. 13 verse 12. And when he had washed their feet, he put on his outer garment. And when he had washed their feet and put on his outer garment, he resumed this place and said to them, do you understand what I have done to you? Because usually when you get a commandment, you're supposed to already understand what to do. But you had some people on the 7th day went all out. And the first time they didn't listen. And then now he said, okay, they listened this time, wasn't stinking. But then he said, don't go out on the 7th day, you ain't gonna find it. And then some people still went out on the 7th day, even though he gave a commandment. So you always gonna have things erratic. But he said, do you understand what I have done? You call me teacher and master, and you are right, for so I am. If I then, your master and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example. Why? And you should follow instructions. Right? You want dirty feet? He said, if you like being filthy, he said, you should follow my example. That you also should do just as I have done to you. Truly, truly, I say to you, a servant is not greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. If you know these things, Barak are you if you do them. I am not speaking to all of you. Right? So when Matsah gave a commandment on what not to do, I assure you, everybody wasn't listening. He said, I ain't speaking to all of you. I know whom I have chosen. The people that's chosen are going to follow his instructions and do what he says. But the scripture will be fulfilled. But it's going to be fulfilled that people are going to be disobedient. And on the 7th day, some of them went out and gathered, but they found none. Even though he told you they weren't going to find none, he still went out to see. Maybe he a liar. I got to prove he a liar. So I'm going to go out here and see for myself. But the scripture will be fulfilled. That's the only reason, because it got to be fulfilled in your life. He who ate my bread has lifted up his heel against me. Oh, there we go. Then they just eat Yahuwah bread right here. And then they just disobey the commandment. And then they start grumbling, right? But here we go. I am telling you this now. Why do you think he told him before, 2 days before? Before it takes place. He said this before it took place. He even told him Yahuwah's going to rain down these things on you because you grumbled against him and he's going to give it to you because you weren't content. He who ate my bread has lifted up his heel against me, and I am telling you this now before it takes place, that when it does take place, you may believe that I am he. Truly, truly, I say to you, whosoever receives the one I send receives me. And whosoever receives me receives the one who sent me. Right? So it's going to verse 28 of Shemuth, Exodus 16:28. And Yahuwah said to Matsah, how long will you refuse to keep my commandments and my laws? See, Yahuwah has given you the Shabbat. Therefore, 6 days he gives you bread for 2 days. Huh? He said, I'm giving you bread. 6 days, I'm giving you bread for 2 days. On the 6th day. Remain each of you in his place, and let no one go out of his place until the seventh day. Why do you think Yahushua was telling him to stay here in Jerusalem until you begin to do with power on high? He said, don't go nowhere. So the people rested on the Shabbat day. Why do you think Yahushua was trying to keep them there? Keep them in a certain pattern. Because it's hard to keep children in a certain pattern. They always over the place. It's just like ants on the ground. You got ants on the ground, and then you try to keep them in a pile. They go, one go over there, another one go over there, another one go over there. So he's trying to keep it in a certain way so things can happen. Now the house of Yasharal called it mon. It was like coriander seed, white, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. Matsah said, this is what Yahuwah has commanded. Let an omer of it be kept throughout your generations, so that they may see the bread with which I fed you in the wilderness, when I brought you out of the land of Mizraim. And Matsah said to Aharon, take a jar and put an omer of mon in it, and place it before Yahuwah, and be kept throughout your generations. As Yahuwah commanded Matsah, so that Aharon placed it before the testimony and kept it. So what do you think Yahushua was here? He was giving them bread for the Aydah. He was giving you bread all the way to the 50th day. And you're supposed to keep an omer. You're supposed to keep it all the way through. The people of Yasharal ate the mon 40 years. They ate it 40 years. Till they came to the habitable land. That's why Yahushua was here for 40 days. He was trying to keep you in a certain pattern to get to Malkut. And they ate manna till they came to the border of the land of Canaan. An omer in the 10th part of an ephah, right? That's what he did, right? Going back to Yuchanan chapter 6, John chapter 6. John chapter 6 in verse 60. And when many of the disciples heard it, they said, this is a hard saying. Who could go skipping over to verse 60, Yuchanan chapter 6 and verse 43. Yuchanan chapter 6, verse 43. Yahushua answered them, do not grumble among yourselves. Going to verse 41. Yuchanan 6, 41. So the Yahudim grumbled about him because he said, I am the bread which came down from Shamayim. The same people. They said, is not this Yahushua, the son of Yusuf, whose father and mother we know? Right, same people, they offended. They got to start talking about your family and your mother and your father. And you know what it says? How does he now say, I am come down from your Shamayim? Yahushua answered them, do not grumble among yourselves, right? So he ain't talking to those nations, or your mother Hittite and your father Amorite. He's talking about his mother and father who are Yahudim, who keep the commandments of Yahuwah and walk in the testimony of Yahushua Mashiach, or walking in Aydah, the testimony of the law of the Torah. He say, I'm talking to you. I have come down from Shamayim. Do not grumble among yourselves. No one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, right? Ain't nobody going to come to Yahuwah Elohim unless the Father Abba draws him. He said, nobody going to come and be taught of Yahuwah. Nobody going to learn no Torah unless Yahuwah allows them to. They're going to reject it. It's just like they did in the wilderness. And I will raise him up on the last day. Rise up, Yahuwah, and let your enemies be scattered. Because you got it in your Arun, in your Aydah, in the Arun, and you got the couple rows on top of it. That's what's going to happen. And it is written in the Nabi'im, and they will all be taught of Elohim, all the builders. That's in Yeshayahu. But what did he say? Everyone who has heard and learned from the Ab comes to me. That's what they're going to happen. Not that anyone has seen the Father, except he who is from Elohim. He has seen the Ab. Truly, truly, I say to you, whosoever believes in me, believes has eternal life. I am the bread of life. Your fathers ate man in the wilderness, and they died. This is the bread that comes down from Shamayim, so the one may eat of it and not die. So they ate this for 40 years, and they all died. You know why they died? Why do you think Yahushua for 40 days? Because he don't want you to die. They was on there for 40 years. You would say, I got 40 days. I'll take it a short way. You want to go 40 years or 40 days? I get you there in 40 days. But you know, some people like, I like 40 years. No, he said, I get you there in 40 days. But you know what prolongs it? Sin. Sin prolongs it. Doubt. Right? This is the bread which came down from Shamayim, so the one may eat it and not die. I am the living bread that came down from Shamayim. That's why he said, I will present your body as a living sacrifice. If anyone eats the bread, he will live forever. Don't be a living sacrifice. And the bread that I give you for life of the world is my flesh. He's like, say what? The Yahudim then disputed among themselves, saying, how can this man give us flesh to eat? So Yahusha said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, unless you eat my flesh of the son of Adam and drink my blood, you have no life in you. Whosoever feeds on my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life. And I will raise him up on the last day. For my flesh is true food and my blood is true drink. Whoever feeds on my flesh and drinks my blood abides in me and I in him. As the living Father sent me, and I live because of the Father, so whoever feeds on me, he also will live because of me. This is the bread that came down from Shamayim, not like the bread your fathers ate and died. Because you're going to die. That was born of flesh is flesh. If you keep your mind on the flesh, you're going to die. Right? And it's just really that simple. You keep on the Ruach, these words I speak to you, they are Ruach. Right? Going to verse 34. As Yahuwah commanded Moshe in Exodus 16. Exodus 16:35. The people of Yasharal ate the man 40 years. Yahushua said, I give you in 40 days. Till they came to a habitable land. Yahushua said, I do it in 40 days. They ate the manna, man, till they came to the border of the land of Canaan. Yahushua said, I get you there in 40 days. You said, I want 40 years. I've been married for 100 years, 10, 25 years. Yahushua's like, I get you there in 40 days now. He said, how long you want to get there? That's how fast it could happen. He said, how fast it can happen? Yahuwah can take you from poor to being rich in like 40 days. He can do that. I can make you rich in your Aydah and your Qahalath in your room in 40 days. And guess what? And Omer is a 10th part of an eighth, right? And all that's a part of it. Right? This is Nakum Yah, Nehemiah chapter 4, 15, chapter 4, 10, chapter 4 and 10. In Yehuda, it was said, the strength of those who bear the burdens is failing, right? They saying he said, you Natsar, and your strength is failing. Why? There is too much rubble. He said, there's too much rubble, man. It's just too much going on. But by ourselves, we will not be able to rebuild the wall. He said, you ain't going to be able to do it. He said, man, you can't do that by yourself. You ain't going to be able to build that wall. And our enemy said, they will not know or see till we come among them and kill them and stop the work. That's the only reason they want to do it. When you are of Satan, when you operate like Shaitan, you're only going to want to stop the work. But he says, and at that time, the Yahudim who lived near them came from all directions and said to us 10 times. So they say what? They said to us 10 times. Why? Because what's a Yah? The 10th of the alphabet. Open right hand. You must return to us. So, you know, that's what they did. They said, you must return to us. That's what they said. That's what the Yahudim said that was, you know, from all directions. But guess what? So, in the lowest parts of the space behind the wall, in open places, I stationed the people by their clans with their swords and spears and their bows. Why? Because when you say you're going to do something, you ain't going to be built that wall by yourself. When our enemies said, they're going to come and kill you. And at that time, the Yahudim who lived near them came from all directions and said to us 10 times. And they tried to get them to stop. From all the other ones, from all the other directions, you must return to us. Now they're saying, you must come back, man. They're trying to kill you. They're trying to take you out. All in 4 directions, right? No. You say Tashua, Yahuwah, right? But guess what? So in the lowest parts of the space behind the wall, in open places, I stationed the people by their clans with their swords, their spears, and their bows. And I looked and arose and said to the nobles and to the officials and to the rest of the people, do not be afraid of them. Why? Because all they talking is everybody trying to 10 times other Yahudim talking about you. Then you got the enemies trying to kill you. So you got the enemies killing you, and then you got your own people trying to get you to stop. All at the same time. So please don't be thinking like, yeah, you know, I'm finna 40 days, go all the way to this 40 days. You think people gonna want you to do that? No. And guess what it says? So in the lowest parts of the space behind the wall, in open places, I stationed the people to their clans with their swords and their spears and their bows. And I looked and arose and said to the nobles and to the officials and the rest of the people, do not be afraid of them. Remember Yahuwah, who is great and awesome, and fight for your brothers, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your homes. He said, remember, Zakar. That's what this whole time, that's what this is all about. Why do you think everything is about Zakar? Remember Yahuwah. Remember how you made Adam, Zakar, Nakabah? Remember how you made you in the beginning? He said, remember that. And when our enemies heard that it was known to us that Elohim, Yahuwah, had frustrated their plan, he's like, you try to make us afraid, I know. He frustrated your plot and your plan. We all returned to the wall, each to his work. From that day on, half of the servants worked on the construction, and half held the spears, shields, bows, coats of mail. And all the leaders stood behind the whole house of Yehuda, who were building the wall. Those who carried burdens were loaded in such a way that each labored on the work with one hand and held a weapon in his other hand, right? So that you working and doing two things at one time. And each of the builders had his own strap on his side while he built. The man who sounded Turah was beside me, and I said to the nobles and all the officials and to the rest of the people, the work is great and widely spread, and we are separated on the wall, far from one another. In the place where you hear the sound of Turah, rally to us there, our Elohim will fight for us, right? Because everybody trying to stop what you're doing. That's what Satan does. He don't want you to get the Ruach Hadash. He don't want you to get it. So in order for you to get it, you're going to have to labor with one hand, you're going to have to fight with the other hand. And then when you hit the Turah, you're going to need to run over to that place, and guess what? You're going to fight with you, because you ain't going to do it by yourself. You're not. So we labored at the work, and half of them held the spears from the break of the dawn until the stars came out, right? So just like you talk about the rule by night. I also said to the people at that time, let every man and his servant pass the night within Jerusalem, that they may be a guard for us by night and may labor by day. So neither I nor my brothers nor my servants nor men of the guard who followed me, none of us took off our clothes. He said, man, we ain't take off our clothes. Isn't that what he did in the wilderness? In Midbar? He said, your clothes didn't wax old and your shoes didn't wax old. He said, we ain't never take off our clothes. Each kept his weapon in his right hand in his yard. Right? That's what happened. So why is it all important? There's a reason for it. Nakum Yah chapter 7, 1 through 4. Now when the wall had been built and I had set up the doors and the gatekeepers, the singers, the Louis, and had been appointed, I gave my brother Hananiah, the governor of the castle, charge over Jerusalem. For he was more faithful and Elohim fearing man than many. And I said, let not the gates of Jerusalem be open until the sun is hot or come. Until it's cold, until it's hot. And while they are still standing guard, let them shut and bar the doors. Appoint guards, right? So it says appoint guards from among the inhabitants of Jerusalem, some of their guard posts and some in their front of their own homes, right? Right, because you got to be on guard of their own homes. The city was wide and large, but the people within are few, and no houses have been rebuilt. Because Satan don't want you to do this. They don't want you to rebuild. They don't want you to complete it. They don't want you to do that. That's the whole point of this. Right? So this is the book of this is the book. This is the whole point. This book of John, actually, Matthew chapter 16, Matthew chapter 16, 21, Matthew 16, 21, Matthew 16, 21. From that time, Yahushua began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and the chief Kahan and the scribes and be killed, and on the third day be raised. And then what he was saying to Malcolm Young, they was hearing from all directions, all the Yahudim saying, you must come back to us. Because they were terrified, and even other people trying to kill him. So you had to go in trying to kill him, then you had your own people trying to get you to stop. And amazing, he said all directions, all 4 directions, right? Right, he said, he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things by the elders, as one, the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed, and the third day be raised. And Qahalath took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, far be it from you, master. What did y'all say? He said, man, take courage and be strong. He said, man, take courage and be strong. You who are going to fight for us? What are y'all doing? This shall never happen to you. But he turned to Qahalath and said, to Qahalath, get behind me, Shaitan. That's what Nakim Yah did when he was building. That's all he was trying to do, trying to stop him from finishing it. That's all it was, or to get you to stop. That's the whole point. Because when they see you getting ready to do something, they afraid, right? Because you got the passing laws saying they're gonna take you down and go to war with you, and then you got your own people trying to stop you. Man, you don't want to do that. Man, something might happen to you. But these are all a part of you. But he turned and said to Qahalath, get behind me, Shaitan. You are a hindrance to me. That's what they are. Those 10 times that the Yahudim were talking to them, telling them to come back to us, and you had the Goyim saying they're going to come, the enemy saying they're going to come kill them. He said, you are a hindrance to me. Those people are a hindrance. Those are what hindrances look like. And guess what? For you are not setting your mind on things of Elohim, but on things of man. You want me to be afraid. That's the whole point. Why should I be afraid? Right? That's the whole point. Right? This is mostly Proverbs 27:18. Whosoever tends a fig tree will eat its fruit. Oh, he talked about a fig tree. And he who guards or shamar his master will be honored. What do you mean guards? That's what they did. That means they shamar. They guarded. To do what? What do you think they were doing when he set the guards up when they were building? That's what you got to do. You got to guard. To watch. It means to watch, to keep guard, to preserve. That's what they have. You ever say, why they got forest preserves? So you can guard it from people, stupid people, doing things inside of the preserve that they shouldn't do. Right? Guard from dangers, right? That's what you got to do. You got to look for danger. To keep, to observe, fidelity. To guard, to keep secret. That's what you're supposed to do. You got to keep your master's secret. You shamar, you guard his secrets, you will be honored. You will be honored by him. You'll be honored if you keep his secrets. To be kept close, to be blockaded, to guard. Right? That's what you're supposed to do. Natsar. Right? That has a lot deeper meaning, but we're going to get into that. But it says Natsar, it means to obey, right? To maintain. He said, you maintain your man, you'll be honored. He said, if you tend to a fig tree, though. But that's all a part of it. When you look at all this, you look at all these things, and you start to understand it. But that's not shamar though, because I was sitting there talking. That was actually the word for tends. Whosoever tends a fig tree will eat its fruit. Sorry. That word for tends is Natsar. But it means whosoever tends or guards a fig tree will eat its fruit. Whosoever shamar, or that's the same word, but guards, but whoever tends is Natsar. It means to observe, guard, fidelity, kept secret, to close, to blockade. That's what I meant to put. But that word for shamar is, where'd you see that word at? Because that's the whole point of it. Because it said, whosoever guards a fig tree eats its fruit, right? To keep guard, to preserve, to guard from dangers, to observe, to guard fidelity, to keep kept secret, to blockade, to maintain a fig tree, to guard it. Why? Because if you don't guard your own fig tree, then Satan gonna mess your fig tree up, and then Yahushua gonna curse your fig tree, and then it ain't gonna happen. Nothing gonna happen on your fig tree. But he says, whosoever guards or shamar his master will be honored, right? So you shamar, you guard your master, you will be honored. But all these words come with what? Watching, guarding, preserving, right? Maintaining. But it's all dealing with agriculture, plants. Because Natsar is a more of an aerial type of view, and then you have a shamar is more of a on the ground type of view. Right? That's what it is, but I'm not gonna get into that. But it's more of an aerial, you have an aerial type, and then you have a type that's on the ground. Right? So you see that word, going to Bereshit chapter 2, verse 15. Yahuwah Elohim took the man, or Adam, and put him in the garden of Eden to Abad and Shamar, right? So they go that word Shamar. That's why he said, he who guards his master will be honored. He guards his master's vineyard. He guards his master's vineyard, his karem, his tree, his garden. And then you watching over, or Natsar, the fig tree. You're tending to the fig tree with an aerial type of view. And then you're on the ground. You got ground guards, and you have aerial guards. You have to do both. You got to be aerial, and then you have to be ground at the same time. And it says, and Yahuwah Elohim took the man and put him in the garden of Eden to Abad and Shamar, to be a servant. This is ground, and Shamar, in his master's garden. It's ground on the ground. And Yahuwah Elohim commanded Adam, saying, you may surely eat of every tree of the garden, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat of it. For in the day you eat of it, you shall surely mamuz. Right? Because you're guarding my garden. Right? But there's some things in the garden that you ain't supposed to eat. But why is this important? This is Bereshit 3:17. And to Adam he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife and have eaten from the tree which I commanded you, you shall not eat of it. Why would you do that? Because maybe we knock him out. He said, fight for your family, your household, your children, and your houses. She's a part of your house. You're Nashim. You're supposed to guard, or Natsar and Shamar in the garden. You're supposed to Natsar the fig tree. That's a feminine tree. What do you think a fig tree is? A fig tree is a feminine tree. It's a feminine tree. It bears fruit. He said, Natsar, tend to that fig tree. Then Shamar on the ground, your masters. Right? Shamar, your master. But these are all a part of it. Because that's all about protection. That's the way Isha got to be to her husband. You have to Shamar, your master, or your husband. The same way when you look at a man has to tend or Natsar to the fig tree. It's all a part of it. But Bereshit 3:17, and to Adam he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife, your Isha, and have eaten of the tree which I commanded you, you shall not eat of it. Cursed is the ground because of you, and in pain you shall eat of it all the days of your life. That's what happens to you. You start to diminish yourself. Things start to happen. Why? Because you did some things you weren't supposed to do. Right? So this is the book of actually going to the book of Sirach, chapter 25, Sirach 25 and 22. Sirach 25 and 22. Sirach 25 and 22. A woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger, impudence, and much reproach. Why? It says, Shamar, your master, right? That means observe, guard. But she said, if you maintain it, who tends to the fig tree? And that's all. He said, tend to the fig tree, you're going to eat its fruit, because it's a feminine tree. Natsar, you're going to Natsar the fig tree. You're going to tend to it. But guess what? A woman, if she maintains her husband, is full of anger and impudence and much reproach. Impudence is what? Lacking. It's like you don't have nothing. Impudent. It's like you're not producing anything. if you're not what? Tending, maintaining it. But it says, verse 23, a wicked woman abateth courage. Why? Because that's what a man's supposed to do. We go out and fight, chase animals, chase foxes out the vineyard. Right, you know, all these things that a man's supposed to do. Supposed to go fight, protect. But if you take away his courage by being evil and wicked, how he gonna do that? Make it a heavy countenance and a wounded heart. You know what happens? You see people at war or fighting, they're always thinking about the person who wounded their heart. You be like, don't worry about that. But that's what happens. He said, he's gonna take away their courage, and then they're going to lose the battle. And then you ain't going to have no house. Matter of fact, you ain't going to have no vineyard, no career. You're not going to have none of that. That's how it was back in the day. Today is different. It's reverse roles now. Now they try to feminize the man and make him look like a coward, and then they make the woman look like she's a superhero, kicking everybody's butt. Right? But this is how the world is created, this world. A wicked woman abateth courage and maketh a heavy countenance and a wounded heart. And a woman that will not comfort her husband in distress. Why? Because when you're in distress, you on every side. Why do you think Nakhim Yah, you had the Yahudim and all the people 10 times coming at him. Then you had his enemies saying they're going to kill him. Now, can you imagine your Isha during that time? He like, you're not going, it's distress time. You're not going to comfort me now? He said, you make it weak hands and feeble knees. Notice how they work with one hand. They were working with their right hand and their other hand. They were fighting and working with the other hand. He said, you make your feet feeble knees. I mean, your legs can't even hold yourself up with your weapons in your hand. And then what happens after that? They take the house. He said, how they bind strong men? Like this. That's how they do it. That's how they do it. Why do you think Nakhim Yah said fight for your house? Because that's how they do it. They'll send the women to make you weak. Right? And that's the whole point of it. Right? This is the book of Matthew. This is the book of Matthew. Book of Matthew. Go to Mark. Actually, Mark chapter 3. Mark chapter 3. Mark chapter 3 and verse 22. Mark chapter 3 verse 22. Mark chapter 3 verse 22. And the scribes who came down from Jerusalem were saying, he is possessed by Beelzebub. They saying you possessed with the filthy spirit that stinks. Why do you think Messiah was telling the people, don't take too much and make sure you don't leave until the morning, and then it was stinking and worms. That's Beelzebub. That's Beelzebub. And the prince of demons. He cast out demons. Right? It's Beelzebub. It's filthy. And he called them to him and said to them in parables, how can Shaitan cast out Satan? If a kingdom is divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. Why do you think he uses things in your malkuth, in your kingdom, to keep you in a certain state? It can't stand. Why do you think Nakhim Yah kept everybody together, and the other Yahudim was saying, you need to return to us, and his enemies, he was saying, no. Be strong, for Yahuwah will fight for us. And if a house is divided against itself, the house will not be able to stand. Why? Because the man going to have feeble knees and weak hands. He's going to take away courage from him, from his Isha, from his Nashim, from his household. They ain't going to be able to stand because now it's divided. It's not. And guess what? And if Satan has risen up against himself and is divided, he cannot stand, but he is coming to an end. That's what happens. It can't stand if they're going to keep doing that. But no one can enter a strong man's house and plunder his goods. He said, man, fight for your house, your land, and everything you have. But no one can enter a strong man's house and plunder his goods unless he first binds the strong man. That's the only reason. And how he going to do that? By the things in his house. He's going to turn the people and the things in his house against him. And they're going to make him weak and feeble, can't hold up his weapon. He got weak knees. Right? Can't even get in the squat rack. Can't even pick up a stone. Can't even pick up a thing. Ain't got no courage. You're a coward. And then that's what happens. Unless he first bind the strong man, then indeed he may plunder his house. Then he'll take everything in your house, even your Isha, your son, your maidservant, everybody in it. But guess what 28 says? Truly I say to you, all sins will be forgiven by the children of Adam, and whatever blasphemies they utter. But whoever blasphemies against the Qahalath Ruach shall never has forgiveness, but is guilty of an eternal sin. For they were saying he has an unclean Ruach, right? And that's all a part of it, right? So this is the book of Proverbs. This is the book of Proverbs, mostly Proverbs, chapter 12 and verse 3. Mostly Proverbs, chapter 12 and verse 3. Mostly Proverbs, chapter 12 and verse 3. Mostly Proverbs, chapter 12, verse 3. No one is established by wickedness, but the root of the righteous will never be moved. Why? Be strong. An excellent wife is a crown to her husband. He said it's a crown. Matter of fact, it's life extension. But she that brings shame is rottenness to his bones. He said, man, it's going to make your knees weak, your hands weak, going to take away your courage. It's going to abate courage. It's going to take it away. It's going to rot your bones. The thoughts of the righteous are just, and the counsel of the wicked are deceitful. Right? That's what we just read right here. Bereshit 3:17. And to Adam he said, because you listen to the voice of your wife, because your counsel of the wicked is deceitful. It's deceitful. And have eaten of the tree from which I commanded you, you shall not eat of it. Cursed shall be the ground because of you, and in pain you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you, and you shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread, till you return to the ground. For out of it you were taken, and dust thou art, and dust thou shalt return. He said you're going to die. All right, this is the book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 10. He said, what has this got to do with anything? It has everything to do with it. He said, the day you eat of it, you shall surely die. But the counsel of the wicked is deceitful. But then he said, if you get this type situation, you're going to get feeble, weak hands, feeble knees. And you know what it's going to bring to you? It's going to bring death to you. Because you ain't going to be able to defend your house. You're going to get killed. And it said, bind a strong man, that means you're going to die. And then he's going to take all your things in your home. And then, that's why you got to guard your house. Not we talking about a natural house, right, with a household, but then we talking about our body. You got to guard yourself, right? But it said, going to Exodus 20 and 12. Honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long in the land that Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you. Verse 13, you shall not murder. He said, you shall not murder. So if any child do it on purpose and make you weak-kneed, feeble, take away your courage, you know what happens after that? It's called murder. It's called murder. Because she willfully is doing it. It's called murder. Because she's trying to murder you. Because she knows if I make you weak with your weapon and your knees, and I take away your courage, and I abate it, and it's gone, Satan will have a field day with you, and you will die. And you will die. It's just like Penuel when he gave the women the herbs, and Penuel when he taught them the bitter and the sweet. They understand that. When you start getting wise and doing evil, you know I can do this on purpose and kill you. And get you murdered and make you weak in your knees and your hand and your hands be weak and your knees get feeble, and I take away your courage. I'll abate your courage and I'll make your heavy countenance just go commit adultery on you. Because the next commandment is thou shalt not commit adultery. You know, I could commit adultery on you and I'll make your heavy countenance, and then you'll really get weak in your knees and your hands and your courage and your thing be gone. And you know what happens after that? If I even threaten to commit adultery, it's going to make you weak in your knees and make you a heavy countenance. And you know that's murder. And you make him weak. That's called murder. Thou shalt not murder. Especially in the day of distress. You really trying to kill me now. He said, especially when the day of calamity and tribulation, you gonna do that? He said, you trying to murder that man. And therefore, thou shalt not murder. Right? And it says, yeah, you shall not murder. Exodus 20:13, you shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Right, going back to Bereshit 2:18. Thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you, and you shall eat the plants of the field. But by the sweat of your face you shall eat bread. Why? Because you got to work in the field. You got to guard it too. You got to guard it. You got to protect. You got to Natsar the fig tree. You got to make sure you tend to that, and then you got to shamar your master's garden in Karim. Just like the Isha got to guard, be a shamar for her master, and just the same way the Ish got to tend to the fig tree in the aerial type of way, watching and seeing things from afar off because she can't see it, making sure her fruit continually bear. That's what Yahusha does to his bride. That's why he said, as the congregation is, the body is subject to Yahusha Mashiach, so let the wives be into everything. Why? Because that's the only way he's going to have dominion over you. Or Radah. He had to bring everything in submissive and control. Why? Because so I can protect it. There's no way you can protect something that's not in your control or under your authority. Right? That's the whole point of it, right? This is Proverbs chapter 13, 1-6. A wise son hears his father's instructions. Why? Because sons have that responsibility. They have to understand it. If they don't, they're not going to understand what to do. And then you're going to see household things just fail. They're going to lose control of themselves, their body. Women going to lose control of themselves and their body. They're going to lose control of their mind. Satan going to take over. Everybody has to know. But a scoffer does not listen to rebuke. He said, man, you ain't going to listen to nothing I said. He said, he ain't going to listen. That's why Mashah, when he said something, they still went out and disobeyed. From the fruit of his mouth, a man eats what is good. If you tend or Natsar to the fig tree, you're going to eat his fruit. But he said, from the fruit of his mouth, a man eats what is good. Why? Because everything that you say out of your mouth, you're going to eat it. And he said, you're going to eat your words. You know how you say that? You're going to eat. I'm going to make you eat your words. He said, I know you said something. He said, I know you said that. I remember I used to, you know, because you should be around a lot of trash talkers. And he said, I know you said it about me. I'm going to make you eat your words. But it says, but the desire of the treacherous is violence, for violence. That's all they want. You gotta literally tell yourself, have courage. He said, hands become strong. Knees become strong. Heavy heart, cast away all the weights and the sin that so easily beset you. That's how you gotta be with yourself. Whosoever, it says, whosoever Natsar his mouth or guards his mouth or tends to his mouth, preserve his life. Because that's what you're doing to the fig tree. You're preserving and making sure it produces fruit. That word, the words that come from it, produces and tends to other people. He who opens his mouth, open wide his lips, comes to ruin. It's going to bring you to ruin, to destruction. The same way your knees and your hands are going to get weak, you're going to lose courage, and you're going to have a heavy countenance because you're opening wide your lips and everything that comes. You're going to grumble and mumble and complain, and things are going to happen. The soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing, while the soul of the diligent is richly supplied. Why? Because the sluggard ain't going to do nothing. But they crave everything in the world. They crave everything else, though. The righteous hates falsehood, shakir, but the wicked brings shame and disgrace. Right, this verse 16, verse 6. 13:6. Righteousness, Natsar, him whose way is blameless. It guards, or you say it tends to the person's way who's blameless. Natsar, the same word. That's what righteousness does. It's like tending to your fig tree. So the more you do righteousness, that's why we do it. He said, why you do this for 40 days? Because the more you tend to righteousness, the more the fruit, the fig tree gonna bear fruit. It bears fruit now in the summertime. The more you tend to it by practicing righteousness, it preserves and it makes your way, it literally tends to your way that is blameless. But sin overthrows the wicked. It's gonna overthrow you. You're gonna be a strong buying man. The strong man gonna get bound, and he's gonna take the whole house. Satan gonna come take over the whole body, his whole house, his body, his house, his mind, his inward man, his liver, his kidneys, his hands, his yard, his feet, He's going to take over his eyes, his ears. He's going to take over your thoughts. He's going to take over Isha, right? Take over our heart and our mind. He said he's going to take over your whole body. You're going to fulfill the desires of the Shadim that dwell inside of you because you're now under their control. Right? This is Proverbs chapter 15 through 19. All the days that the afflicted are evil, but a cheerful heart has a continual feast. That's why you think he have you do it again? If you were cheerful, you'll have a continual feast. But if not, you just have a feast with evil, being afflicted. Right? Better is a little with the fear of Yahuwah than great treasures and trouble with it, man. It's better with a little bit of money you got, a little bit of things you got, not being able to do anything for 7 days, than getting great treasures and tending to righteousness in your fig tree and guarding your father's, or you say shamar, your master. It's better than getting a bunch of treasures with trouble with it. Better is a dinner of herbs where love is, right? It's better a dinner of herbs where love is than a fatted ox and hatred with it. Some people eat plants and some people eat plants, but it's like they eat herbs, but they act like they eat a fatted ox. And they got so much hatred in their heart. But it says, a hot-tempered man stirs up strife. He say, what do you mean hot-tempered? What do you mean hot-tempered? But he who is slow to anger quiets contention. He said, how you quiet contention? Right, so this is the book of, he says, you can do both of them at the same time. Let me show you. He says, right, so this is the book of Proverbs. This is the book of Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 17 and 13. Mostly Proverbs 17:13. If anyone returns evil for good, evil will not depart out of his house. He say, if somebody does good to you, ta'ud, and you return to them ra, he said you ain't gonna never get no ra out of you. Right? You can do it 100 times over. Right? If I go punch somebody in the face down the street, and I keep doing it every single day, but then I come back to my house and I say, I'm gonna pray to Yahuwah, please, in the name of Yahushua Mashiach, through Yahuwah, the most gracious and merciful Elohim, remove these demons out of my house. Ain't nothing gonna happen. Until you start doing good deeds and doing it continually, ain't nothing gonna happen. Nothing gonna happen. The beginning of strife is the letting out of water, right? Turn some water on, turn it on, right? And then guess what? It gets more and more and more and more and more and more to the point where you say, no. So quit before a quarrel breaks out. So you got to stop. You got to stop. You have to stop. You have to. Right? He who justifies the wicked and condemns the righteous are both alike an abomination to Yahuwah. Why? Because just like they said, you acquit the criminal, and you say you acquit the criminal, but you condemn the innocent. It's an abomination. Verse 16, why should a fool have money in his hand to buy wisdom? He said you can't have hakma. He said bina hakma da'ar. You can't have the actual crown on your head, keter, and you can't even go to the Mount Kuz. Matter of fact, you can't even operate your tikfarah and overlook an offense, rebellion. You can't even overlook rebellion. Because everybody, he said, why your household rebel? Because that's just a part of human nature. Because you're a human being. Because it's a part of it. Why should a fool have money in his hand to buy hakma when he has no sense? You have no intelligence. You want to buy wisdom. He said, buy the truth and sell it not, right? But he said, verse 17, a friend loves at all times. If you really are a true friend, you'll love all the time. Ahaba. But it says, and a brother is born for adversity. He said, you're born for this adversity, right? Verse, going to Proverbs 15 and 18. A hot-tempered man stirs up strife, But he who is slow to anger quiets contention. It says the way of a sluggard is like a hedge of thorns. That's what what happens, because the only reason you got hot tempered man or woman, and you're not slow to anger is because you're a lazy sluggard. Because you're a lazy sluggard and you're like a hedge of thorns. That's what he told Adam is going to yield him, because he listened to the voice of his Isha. Because when you start listening to the voice of your Isha, and then you know what happens? You end up taking stuff personally. And then what happens after that? You get offended. Then you get bitter. Then you get resentment. Then you start to teach them a lesson based upon your feelings. And that's what happens. He said, don't take it personally, because you yourself know that you yourself have Qahalath other people too, cursed other people too, and been trifling. You know that too. You've been trifling as well. The way of a sluggard is like a hedge of thorns, but the path of the upright is a level highway. This is the only way. When you get them hedge of thorns out, then you got a level highway. But when you got hot-tempered, strife, you ain't slow to anger, you ain't trying to quiet contention, it becomes not a level highway. You use nothing but stones everywhere. And that's the whole point. This is the book of Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes chapter Qahalath, chapter 10. I think it's Qahalath chapter 10. That's what happens. All right, this is the book of Ecclesiastes, Qahalath chapter 10 and verse 4. Qahalath chapter 10 and verse Qahalath chapter 10 and verse 3. Ecclesiastes chapter 10 verse 3. Even when the fool walks on the road, he lacks sense. We talk about lacking sense, not intelligence. You say you a fool and you walking on the road. You know what happens when you walk on the road and you hot-tempered, you're a hot-tempered man or woman, and you full of strife, or you not slow to anger, you create what? Hedges of thorns. Because you're a sluggard. And it's not a level highway, which means if you ain't good in proprioceptive enriched environments, and with things in the way that you move and dodge, you're going to trip. You're going to trip and fall on your head. Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 10. A wise man inclines him to the right, but a fool's to the left. Right? You incline your heart to Yahushua Mashiach, who says that Yahuwah is Yah. Even when a fool walks on the road, he lacks sense, and he says to everyone that he is a fool. He's like, man, you are a fool. If an anger of a ruler rise against you, do not leave your place. Why? For calmness will lay great offenses to rest. Because it's your tikfarah, your beauty to overlook offenses, to overlook rebellion, to overlook transgressions of the law, overlook transgression of Yahuwah, how Yahuwah will look at it. It's your tikfarah. Or eyes, put on your tikfarah, because that's all a part of it. Calmness lays great offenses to rest. That's why you go to sleep at night. He's like, that's why he told you, be angry, but sin not. Don't let the sun go down on your anger. So you can go to sleep at night. So you can rest. Because you get calm as the sun go down. Why? Because you got to do your evening sacrifice. You get calmer and calmer and calmer. It's like sitting in the lavender field. You be like, man, I remember the evening sacrifice, Aydah, so let me go do that. Then you fall on your face, you talk to Yahuwah, and then you ask Yahuwah, and you start asking him, and then you repent, whatever you got to do, forgive, overlook the offense, keep your tikfarah on, so Yahuwah will still talk to you at night. Ain't no demons going to be talking to you at night. For calmness will lay great offenses to rest, right? It quiets contention. It brings you to quietness, right? This Proverbs 22, 5 through 6. Thorns and snares are in the way of the crooked. That's why he told Adam, thorns and thistles are going to yield you. Because you listen to the voice of your Isha. You ain't guard my garden, and you ain't do what you're supposed to do. Whosoever shamar his soul will keep far from them. He said, man, I'm going to keep. He said thorns and snares, right? That's why he said you got to have intelligence. Why? Because they're just thorns and snares. It's many going to be offended and betray one another and hate one another. Why? Because these are all a part of what? Scandalizing. These are all snares. Ensnare you. That's what it meant. But he said, thorns and snares are in the way of the crooked, because those people are crooked. They fall on the way. They left Yahuwah. They crooked. Whosoever shamar or guards, just like Adam in the garden, because that's what he was in the garden. That's what that word is, shamar. I put Adam to Abad and shamar. His soul, right? So that's what you're guarding. He's talking about being in the garden. You're guarding you, your soul, your nefesh, you, your body. He said, he who guards his soul will keep far from these snares, from them, because you got intelligence. They're going to put a hole in your garment. Verse 6, train up a child in the way he should go. Please shamar in the garden and make sure you keep away from thorns and snares. Don't be hot-tempered, strife, and full of anger. And if somebody rises in anger, he said, don't leave. Don't give them a reason to keep pursuing you with their anger. Just get calm and quiet, and it quiets all contention. Because the energy you put out is the energy you get back. So if you put out calm, quiet energy after somebody gets angry, eventually that person will calm down, because it has to, because your energy is greater. Because it's better to return good than evil, and return evil with evil. So return good with evil, so then it goes away. That the energy may dial down, because human nature is we have the off on the inside, Yahuwah's anger, and if we don't understand that, just like he made Adam in his image and likeness, child, because he who humbles himself like a child, he said, if you don't humble yourself and become like this little child, Yahushua told him, he put it in the midst of them, and he said, you will never get into the kingdom of Shamayim. So in order for you to get in, you have to be able to be trained up like a child to avoid these things. Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. He said, even when you old, you're going to be avoiding these thorns and snares. Man, you be so wise, you'd be like, and you know what happens after that? You'll live a real long, nice, peaceful life. But as soon as you get around these people, because people are thorns and snares, they'll be 16 years of hell, 20 years of hell, and they still talking about you. 10 years of hell. you're gonna be thorns and snares everywhere. And then they're gonna start saying it to other people. And you know what happens after that? Don't get offended. You gotta overlook their rebellion, their offenses, and all the things against the Torah. You gotta overlook it all. And you're like, man. And that's not an easy thing to do. But you got to. In order for you to continue to have, when you get older, you won't depart from it. What Yahuwah says, right? This book of Ecclesiastes 9:16 through 18. But I say that wisdom is better than might, right? All the weapons they had to protect their house, and the things they had, and everything that they owned, but wisdom, Hakmah, is better than that. It's good, it's temporary, but the real weapon that you need is wisdom. It's all the strength you can have. He said, my strength has been abated. My courage, right? But wisdom allow you to get it back. But I say by Hakmah is better than might. Though the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heard, the words heard in quiet are better. That's why he tells you, calmness quiets contention. They're better than a shouting of a ruler among fools. He said it's better than a ruler shouting and a bunch of fools talking. The fool can be the other person talking and the ruler shouting, but the fool saying stuff too. So he's like, not profitable. The words of the wise in quiet are better than shouting, because it quiets contention. And there won't be no contention, ever. Wisdom, Hakmah, is better than weapons, right? Or Kali. Weapons of war. That's what knocking y'all had on the wall. But they was going to fight that thing, right? They had them natural weapons. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal. Right, let's go there, right? But at the same time, say, man, what happened? He said, why is all this happening? Right, but here we go. Right, 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 1. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 1. 2 Corinthians 10 and 1. It says, I, Shaul, myself entreat you by meekness, anew, and gentleness of Mashiach. That's why, because the words heard in quiet are better than the shouting of a ruler among fools. I who am humble when face to face with you, but bold toward you when I am away. He said, when I'm away, I'm real bold. I beg of you that when I am present, I may not show boldness with such confidence as I count on showing against some who suspect us walking according to the flesh. He said, man, you must be walking according to the flesh. For though we walk in the flesh, we are not waging war according to the flesh. Why? Because waging war in the flesh is weapons of war. You know, your natural weapons of war, but wisdom is better than that. You got guns, you got weapons, right? He said, I'm not according to the flesh. We are not waging war in the flesh, for the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds. We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of Elohim, and that take every thought captive to obey Mashiach, being ready to punish every disobedience when your obedience is complete. Going to the book of Qahalath, Ecclesiastes 9:17. The words of the wise and quiet are better than the shouting of a ruler among fools. Wisdom, Hakmah, is better than weapons of war, or kali of war. But one sinner destroys much good, because that's what happens. That word for destroys is abad, right? It's not abad, it's not spelled with an ayin. It's spelled with an aleph. Aleph, baith, noon. Aleph, baith, dallah. It said the strength of the door of the house. If one sinner can destroy the strength of the house and the door, just one person, it can destroy the house. It destroys much good. All the good that you do. One sin can destroy the whole thing. And all your sins will come back to remembrance again. And you can't do that. And you can't commit sin in your house. It's going to destroy all the good you've done. Matter of fact, wisdom is better than the weapons of war that you people want. Well, so that word for quiet is nakath. It says the words heard in nakath is better than the shouting of a ruler among fools. That word nakath is quietness, quiet attitude. Right, that's like a song. Quiet attitude. Rest of death, descent of judgment, a descent, unfavorable, right? But it also means restfulness, lighting down, quiet. It says a quiet attitude. Why? The words of the wise heard in quiet are better than the shouting of a ruler among fools. Why? Because rebellion is going to happen. Nobody's going to obey what you say. They ain't even do what Mashah said. Don't go out on the seventh day. They still did. They're not going to listen to you. That's just the way it is. It's always been like that. Right? And if they do, that means that's very precious if they do it willfully. And after you give a commandment and somebody does something, that's like precious inside of Yahuwah. But if they don't do it, they do it 3 days later, they still did it, but it's still the same thing. Chakma is better than weapons or kali of war. Right? That word for weapons is kali. It means implement. It means also utensils, hunting, war. This is the same thing when we read the vestals, right? Something that prepare apparatus, right? Carriage, furniture. These are all weapons, right? Hope you know that. This is Yeshayahu 52. Remember, it says, depart, go out from there, touch no unclean thing. We talked about this in the first pasuk. Go out from the midst of her, purify yourselves, you who Natsar or bear the kali of Yahuwah, the actual weapons of Yahuwah. That was the ark or room. That same word. Because wisdom is better than weapons of war, right? Natural weapons. So they were supposed to bear in the Khalid, he said to bear the vessel, the ark of Yahuwah. This is Dabarim chapter 22 verse 5, right? Same word. A woman shall not wear a man's Khalid. It means vessel. Why do you think the women didn't go for war? Why Nakum Yah said, put guards. Because the man's supposed to tend to the fig tree. Matter of fact, the woman was singing about him, saying, hey, you know what? Can you go get them foxes out the vineyard? I know you was looking through the window. I saw you. Can you please go in the vineyard and get them foxes out? They destroying the Karim, the actual vineyard. A woman should not wear a man's khalid. He shouldn't be chasing no animal, going out fighting. I went out by myself and slew the whole army like Yehuda did. No, that ain't you. He said, she jumped out there and he said, no, you didn't do that. Not by yourself. He says, a woman shall not wear that a man's khalid, nor shall a man put on a woman's clothes. He said, don't listen to the voice of Yahushua and put on a woman's clothes. Matter of fact, you're going to put on a feminine nature. The very same thing, he said, why you listen to the voice of Yahushua? And you ate from the tree that I command you not to eat. Man, you must put on a woman's garment. Because that's what women do. You must put on a woman's garment. For whosoever does these things is an abomination to Yahuwah, your Elohim. He's like, you just committed an abomination. You became weak. Your hands became weak. Your knees weak. You lost your courage. And you got a heavy countenance. All because of what people are doing to you. And you got to cast aside every weight. That's what a man has to do. He got to cast aside all the weights. Because everybody going to throw their weight on you. And that's what you got to do. That's why you think they say, casting all your cares upon him, for he cares for you. He bore our sin, right? Yeshayahu chapter 50, Isaiah chapter 53, verse 1. Yeshayahu chapter 53, verse 1. Isaiah chapter 53, verse 1. Isaiah chapter 53, Yeshayahu 53 and 1. Who has believed what he or she has heard from us? And to whom is the arm of Yahuwah been revealed? For he grew up before him like a young plant. I mean, you mean like a young little tender seedling? And grew up into a big old huge tree. And like a root out of the dry ground. He's just like a root out of dry ground. When you place roots in the ground, you start down first before you go up. When you plant a seed in the ground, you start down. The roots grow down before it grows out of the soil. You got to go down first before you go up. That's the only way. For he grew up before him like a young plant and like a root out of the dry ground. He had no form or majesty that we should look at him. And then what the woman say, man, you look good, man, you look real good in the vineyard. Your voice is sweet and you look lovely. Can you go in the field and get them foxes out of the vineyard? But that's only when everything's going good. She's like that. But when everything started going wrong and haywire, he had no form or majesty that we should look at him, and no beauty that we should desire him. He had no reason to desire him because you done lost your house, you done lost everything you had, you done went from the vineyard to nothing. You done lost everything you had, and now you ain't got. They don't even want you no more. They don't want you no more. You ain't lovely, and your voice ain't sweet because your hands got weak and you got bound. Just like he said, first take the household. The only way to take a household, you got to bind a strong man. But then he said, a wicked woman make you weak though. And you'll take your heavy countenance and wound your heart. Matter of fact, make your hands weak and your knees feeble. They don't even want you no more. They went and commit adultery and they trying to murder you at the same time by not doing what they're supposed to do. And comfort you in the day of distress. But that's what happens. It's called murder. Murder was the case, first degree. And no beauty that we should desire him. You don't want him no more. Go in that vineyard and go get those foxes out of the crib. You can't even move your knees. Your knees can't even run. You can't even run no more. Matter of fact, this is why you gotta make sure you do it when you get old. You won't depart. Train up a child in the way it should go. When you get old, that person ain't gonna want you no more. They're not. They want somebody younger that can go in the Karim in the vineyard and chase the actual foxes away. But that's the curse that Adam inherited. That's what we got. And like a root out of the dry ground, he had no form of majesty that we should look at him, and no beauty that we should desire him. Why do you think men die early? It's called murder. He was despised and rejected by men, women, and y'all children. A man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. Man, you gotta strengthen your soul. And as one to whom men and women hide their faces from. He said, I seen him face to face in the Song of Solomon. Sure, her Shireen. She said, face to face through the window, I saw you. But when you see you now, it's like, and as for men and women who hide their faces, he was despised and we esteemed him not. He said, you don't even esteem Yahushua Mashiach. He looked good like Absalom, but then when they punched him in the face, hit him in the head with a reed, plucked out his beard, spit in his face. Right? When they did all these things and they started falsely accusing him, he got accused. He got a criminal court case, false court case. And now he getting ready to be crucified in front of the whole public. Oh, I assure you, your Ishar gonna leave. All your lovers gonna forget you. They're not gonna love you no more. Because you embarrassed in front of the whole world. That's how it is. But you better make sure you hold to Yahushua Mashiach. Because that's the way the world is. One minute you up, when you down, they don't love you no more. It's all fake, right? And he was despised and rejected by men, and man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. You were gonna cry. And as one of whom men hide their faces, he was despised and we esteemed him not. Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. So who he carrying? What do you think he carrying? All the stuff that other people did to him. He carrying all the other stuff y'all did. Yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten of Elohim, and afflicted. Look what Yahuwah doing to you. Look at that. He doing that because of your sin, rightfully so. But Yahushua Mashiach ain't have no sin. So why you don't like him? Why you don't love him? But he was pierced for our transgressions, and he was crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the chastisement that brought us shalom. Why? Because when people in the household commit a great sin, their husband gonna have to bear their sin. You have to bear it all. And that's what it's teaching you. That's what it's teaching you. Oh, we are like sheep going astray. We turned every one to his own way. And that's what the people in the household not going to say. The people in the household ain't going to say that. They're not going to confess that. They're just going to put the sin on you. And Yahuwah has laid on him the iniquity of us all. It's going to happen to you. Right? That's why you got wisdom is better than weapons of war. Khalid. You can take a weapon up all you want. Try to defend yourself. It ain't gonna matter. Verse Dabarim 22 and 5. A woman shall not wear that which a man's could lead, nor shall a man put on a woman's cloak. For whosoever does these things is an abomination to Yahuwah Elohim. Right? It will be. This is 1 Corinthians 3:10-9. According to the Khan, Yahuwah has given me, like a skilled master builder, I laid the foundation, and someone else is building upon it. Let each of you take care how he builds upon it. For no one can lay a foundation other than that which is laid, which is Yahushua Mashiach. That's why you gotta literally put him on in order to endure all these things in life. When you have times of shalom, when you have times of peace, when you have times when you're up, when you have down, when your karim is gone, or when you don't, whether people desire you or they don't, whether they want to be with you or not, you still have to be able to maintain the mindset of Yahushua Mashiach. For he that has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin. That's the only reason you're suffering so much. Now, if anyone builds on the foundation with gold, silver, precious stone, hay, straw, each one's work will become manifest. Why? Because you're putting all these materials on it, we're going to see what it is. For the day will disclose it, but because it will be revealed by fire, and the fire will test what sort of work each one has done. If the work that anyone has built on the foundation survives, he will receive a reward. And if anyone's work is burnt up, he will suffer loss, though he himself will be saved, but only as through fire. Do you not know that you are Yahuwah's temple, and Yahuwah's Ruach dwells in you? If anyone destroys Yahuwah's temple, Yahuwah will destroy him. He said, I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to destroy your house. For Yahuwah's temple is Chhdsh, and you are that temple. You got to guard your house, your temple. If you don't, you got to guard it. You got to Natsar it. You got to Shamar it. Because your master in the house. You got to guard your master inside of you. And you got to Natsar your fig tree and tend to its fruits. Or you're going to be doing things opposite. That's what this whole time is about. Because things are growing on the inside of you. And you have to cut things down. Let no one deceive himself. He's just going to deceive yourself. If anyone among you thinks that he is wise in his age, right? So that's, he said, wisdom is better than weapons of war. Wisdom is better than, even as Shalom wrote in Wisdom of Solomon, he said, wisdom is better than health and beauty. It's better than rulership. It's better than all that. He said, let him become a fool that he may become wise. He said, that's the only way you're going to become wise. You got to admit that you're a fool. Because you know what a fool does. With a ruler in the house that's shouting, he said, man, ain't nothing profitable. He said, you're a fool. He said, let you become a fool, right? That's what you are when you do it, that you may become wise again. Because he said, when you do it, he said, yeah. He said, you did that before, but then he's like, okay, now you become wise. You become wise now. You were a fool before, now you become wise. That's all it's about. For wisdom of this world is folly with Yahuwah. Wisdom is better than weapons of war. For it is written, he catches the wise in their craftiness, and again, Yahuwah knows the thoughts of the wise, that they are futile. Why? Because you're wise to do evil. That's why he says it's called murder. Thou shalt not murder. It's all worthless. So let no one boast in men, Adam. For all women. For all things are yours. When Shaul or Apollos and Cephas or the world or life or death or present or the future, all are yours. And you are Mashiach, and Mashiach is Yahuwah, right? You see Yuchanan 16, 12 through 15. I still have many things to say to you because we got 29 days left. But you cannot bear them now. When the Ruach of truth comes, he will guide you into all truth, for he will not speak of his own authority, but whatsoever he hears, he will speak. And he will declare to you the things that are to come. And he will kabod me, for he will take what is mine and declare it to you. That's why a lot of people don't understand a lot of things. Because they think that you tend to one thing, and you guard one thing, but then you neglect other things. And then you're thinking, in totality, you can bear everything. You can Natsar everything. You can carry all that? You can carry all that? Are you sure? He will glorify me, and he will take what is mine and declare it to you. All that the Father has is mine. Therefore I said, he will take what is mine and declare it to you. This column 4, Q257, column 6. Dead Sea Scroll. These are the paths in the world to enlighten the heart of Adam. Straighten out in front of him all the paths of true justice. Establish in his heart respect for the precepts of Elohim and the Ruach of meekness. Anu. Why? Because better is the wisdom that's heard in quiet than a shouting ruler among fools. Of patience and generous compassion, because you're going to have patience and generous compassion dealing with people when you say don't go out on the seventh day and they still go do it anyway. You're going to have it. You got to. Eternal goodness and intelligence. You got to have sense. Because if you don't have sense, you're going to do things opposite and you be committing murder. Because you're wise to do evil. Understanding and potent wisdom which trusts in all the deeds of Elohim and depends on his abundant mercy. His rakam, his kasi, his kindness. A ruach of knowledge in all plans of action, right? So every action that you do, every reaction that you do is yours. No reaction. Because usually when a human being reacts, it's going to be evil. 90% of the time. So action that you do. Of enthusiasm, decrees of justice and set apart plans with firm purpose of generous compassion with all the sons and daughters of truth. Of magnificent purity which detests all unclean idols. Of each careful behavior and wisdom concerning everything. Because wisdom is better than weapons of war. It's better. Wisdom and Hakmah is better than weapons of war. It's better than the things that people desire in this life. Right? It's better than jewels, it's better than money, it's better than gold and silver. I'm talking about everything. That's why he says submit. That's why he talks about Adam going to rule the earth and radah it. He's going to have everything in submission under his control. Of concealment concerning the truth of the mysteries of the knowledge. These are the foundations of the ruachs of the sons of truth in the world. And the reward of those who walk in it will be healing. If you walk in the way, the path of wisdom, then guess what? You'll be healed all the time. Plentiful peace and long life. You're going to be able to go to sleep at night. Shalom. Fruitful offspring with an everlasting barak. Your children are going to follow your lead. And you're going to have a perfect example in their face that they can see, that they can understand what it's like to walk away. Eternal enjoyment with endless life, right? You want eternal life. That's the only people that's going to be there. A crown of kabod and majestic raiment and eternal life, right? Yahuwah said they tested me 10 times. What do you mean test? That means they tried me 10 times to try to test to see if I actually had that character of Yahuwah Elohim. So they trying to test and see if I would have full of compassion, great mercy, forgiving sins, transgression, and iniquity. So that's why people rise up and become rebellion, because that's why they did it to Yahuwah. And they tested him, and he almost destroyed them all. Matter of fact, he had a Mashah to talk him down. That's what happens. However, to the ruach of deceit belongs greed. Sluggish in the service of justice. You can't be sluggish, right? Wickedness, falsehood, pride, haughtiness of heart, dishonesty, trickery, cruelty, lust, insecurity, impatience. Because you're gonna have a lot of patience, especially growing things inside of you, and especially dealing with other people and interacting. Your patience is gonna get tested. Well, you ain't got that fruit. Much foolishness, right? Impudent enthusiasm for appalling acts performed in lustful passions, right? That's even thoughts, even past lives, past relationships, past understandings. Filthy past in the service of impurity, right? That's anything impure. Blasphemous tongue, that's the thing you say out of your mouth. He that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life. Blindness of eyes, right? You ain't watching, you ain't shamar. That's what shamar is, to guard, to watch. You ain't Natsar, and you're definitely not tending to nothing. Hardness of hearing, because you know hardness of hearing, you ain't hearing nothing. Just like they ain't hear Mashah when he said, don't go out in the field on the 7th day, and they still went to go see him, just to test his patience. And they be hardness of hearing and still going opposite of what he says. And that's just a part of it. You got to overlook rebellion. Overlook Pasha, right? You got to put in your teeth for it. Stiffness of neck, right? You're going to be stiff-necked. Stiffness, right? You're going to be stiff-necking your neck. Hardness of heart. In order to walk in the paths of darkness and evil cunning, right? You get wise to do evil. Right? This is the book of Yirmiyahu. This is the book of Yirmiyahu. Yirmiyahu chapter 4 and verse, Yirmiyahu chapter 4 verse 19. Yirmiyahu 4:19. My anguish, I wreathe in pain. And then we told Adam, he said, in pain, thorns and thistles are you. In pain, you shall till the ground, and you shall eat bread all the days of your life. That's why Yahushua cried out, my Elohim, why hast thou forsaken me? He said, I'm in pain. On the walls of my heart. You know what Yirmiyahu said? They were on the wall. They were working with one hand, and then what they were doing? They were fighting with the other. That's what you're in that type of fight. My heart is beating wildly. And then what we did with lavender, what does lavender do? Slows heart rate in the field of flowers. I cannot keep silent. That's why you need these things. Because calmness quiets contention. Because when you ain't quiet on the inside of you, I assure you, there's a whole bunch of things tormenting you. For I hear the sound of a trumpet and alarm for war. Oh, here we go. Here we go. That's the whole point. When these things start happening inside of your body, it's wartime. You have to put on wisdom because it's better than weapons of war. Crash follows hard on crash. The whole land is laid waste. That's what's going to happen to you if you don't do it. You don't put on wisdom. Because what does war do? Destroy. Fire. Things going to be destroyed. But if you put on Hakmah, wisdom, and you quiet contention, and you become calm, suddenly my tents are laid waste. Nothing will be laid waste inside of you. And you won't have to do pick up a whole big mess after you know how I say we're going to rebuild it? No. Suddenly my tents are laid waste, my curtains in a moment. Everything gone in a moment. If you don't put on wisdom, Hakmah. How long must I see the standard and hear the sound of the Turah? He said, how long I got to see that? But you know the standard is. No, you can't do that. For my people are foolish. That's the whole point. On the inside, you are a fool. Let you become a fool that you may become wise. Become a fool, man and woman, that you may become wise. For my people are foolish, they know me not. They are stupid children. That's why he said, train up a child in the way he should go. When he is old, she will not depart from it. They have no understanding. They still have no understanding. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Lack of it, intelligence. They are wise in doing evil. He said, murder. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not murder. For if you sin willfully after you come into the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no sacrifice for sin. For what? But an expectation of judgment on your life. Thou shalt not murder. But how to do good, they know not. Because it has to be taught to them how to do good. Because they don't know how to do it. Verse 23, I looked on earth, and behold, it was without form and void, and the Shemaims, and they had no light. Because the commandment is a lamp, and the teaching is a light. You know what happens when they have no light? 4Q 257, I know people don't like it. I keep saying it, but it's the same thing. Hardness of heart, in order to walk in the paths of darkness and evil cunning. I looked, the earth was without form and void, and they had no light. That's what he just said. To walk in the path of evil cunning, because they need what? They have to fulfill the craving of it. And the visitation of those who walk in it will be abundance of afflictions by the hands of the Malachia of destruction. Why? We just read in Yirmiyahu, all of my tents and everything was laid waste. Everything was destroyed. My heart was beating fast too. Man, everything was going haywire. I couldn't keep solid. Now everything destroyed. They go to Malachia of destruction. Man, I feel drained. It's like I fought a 6-day war. But not even knowing all this is taking inside of me. It has nothing to do on the outside. By scorching wrath and Elohim that revenges, a permanent terror and shame without end, with humiliation and destruction of the dark region. You get humiliated, I assure you she ain't gonna want you no more. Ain't gonna be no vineyard, your face is beautiful. She gonna despise you and hate you. Humiliation and destruction by the fire of the dark region. That's all it is, the dark regions rising up. See, it's easy to love somebody when everything's going good. It's easy to adore and look at beauty and everything. But when everything going evil, can you still love somebody? Actually, Husha, everybody left him. So are you greater than your master? No. All the ages of their generations, they shall spend in bitter weeping and harsh evils in the abyss of darkness until destruction. That's what happened. You're going to be in the darkness until everything in your life is destroyed. That's the only reason you go through these things. So all that evil inside of you is destroyed. Without there being a remnant or survivor for them, without any of it being left inside of you, because you still have it inside of you. So you had to go through all these things in destruction and darkness, be in a certain state until it's all dead. Until you put it all to death. And your hand got to be first upon it, because you got to put it all to death. That's why Shaul said in Colossians 3, in Galatians, they put to death what is earthly in you. You got to do it. Your hand got to be first upon it too. I'm gonna wait for you to say something about it. No, your hand got to be first upon it. And if you can't get it out, man, I'm having a hard time with this. Then everybody else started to help you. No, your hand got to be first upon it first. You know what it is, so therefore your hand has to be first, and then everybody else if you need some help. But other than that, that's your fight. That's your stuff. That's the stuff you love on the inside of you that you don't want to get rid of. Right? That's that life you had. That's that old life you had. That's that old relationship you had. That's that old being you used to be. That your old ways. That's you. That's your hand has to be first upon it because you love it. So therefore you got to destroy it. You want somebody. People say they want somebody else to tell them to destroy it. No, you know what it is. It don't meet the standards of Yahuwah. So therefore, or Yahushua Mashiach. So he said you got to destroy it. And your hand got to be a first upon it. Or you're going to be tricked. And you're going to deceive yourself like who in the garden. And you yourself going to be your own Nakash. You might well put on a serpent adder face and slit your eyes and put on green skin and how your skin is scaly. Without there being a remnant or survivor for them. This is Psalms 116, 1-9. I love Yahuwah because he has heard my voice and my pleas for mercy, because he inclined his ear to me, therefore I call upon him as long as I live. The snare of death encompassed me, the pangs of Sheol has laid hold on me. I suffered distress and anguish. Then I call on the name of Yahuwah. Yahuwah, I pray, deliver my soul. Man, he who guard his soul, well, he says, shamar your soul. Gracious is Yahuwah and righteous, our Elohim is merciful. Yahuwah preserves the simple. When I was brought low, he saved me. You going down. Remember, O my soul, to your rest, for Yahuwah has dealt bountifully with you. For you have delivered my soul from death and my eyes from tears, my feet from stumbling. I will walk before Yahuwah in the land of the living. I believed even when I spoke. I am afflicted, greatly afflicted. I said in my alarm, all mankind are liars. Kazab. If you believe in it, he said all of them are. What shall I render to Yahuwah for all the benefits to me? I will lift up the cup of Yeshua and call in the name of Yahuwah, right? That's what you're going to do. I will pay my vows to Yahuwah in the presence of all his people. Precious in the sight are the death of his faithful ones, he concede. Yahuwah, I am your Abad, I am your Abad. That's Adam in the garden. The son of your maid servant. You have loosed my bonds. I will offer to you the sacrifice of thanksgiving and call on the name of Yahuwah. I will pay my vows to Yahuwah in the presence of all his people. In the court of the house of Yahuwah, in your midst, O Jerusalem, praise Yahuwah, right? So that word for the cup of your, I will lift up the cup of Yeshua is Yeshua, right? It means welfare, prosperity, deliverance, victory. Hence, aid, victory, right? So when you're going to get the victory over your war inside of you, or you're going to bring the war to somebody else. Because the war inside of you can't defeat that war inside of you. You're going to bring that war to somebody else. That's what's going to happen. You're going to bring that war to somebody else. Because you can't win that war on the inside of you. And you're going to bring it to somebody else, and then you're going to find out, I should have never brought this war to you that I have on the inside of me. And you're going to have to deal with it. Right? So that word for Chdsh or saints is Kasid. It means faithful, kind, godly, kind, faithful ones, kind, merciful. Right? So you're going to be merciful. He said, why I keep repeating this? Because repetition. Kind ones, merciful, faithful ones. Right? So therefore, let everyone who is Kasid offer prayer at the time where he may be found. Right? Psalms 32, 6-9. Surely in the rush of great waters they shall not reach him. You are a hiding place for me. You preserve me from trouble. You surround me with shouts of deliverance. Say, Lord, I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. Train up a child in the way he should go. When he is old, he will not depart. So you're still a child. How old are you? I'm 1 year old. I will counsel you with my eye upon you. That's all he's doing. I'm looking at you. Be not like a horse and a mule without understanding. Because if you are, then you're going to find yourself in many quarrels and fights. You're going to find yourself in many things that you shouldn't do. Right? You're going to be wise to do evil, and it's going to be very, very hard for you in on the celestial circle in the 364-day cycle. Which must be curbed with bridle and bridle, or it will not stay near you. He say, don't be like that. Right? So therefore, let everyone who is godly or concede, faithful, kind, faithful ones offer prayer when he may be found. Right? This Psalms 37, 7 through 11. Be still before Yahuwah and wait patiently for him. Fret not yourself over the one who prospers in the way, over the one who carries out evil devices. They wise to do evil. Because they're going to go, what? It's unjust gain. Refrain from anger and forsake wrath. Fret, Qahalath, not yourself. It tends only to evil. Why do you think people try to get you to get angry? Why do you think Mashah got angry? Why do you think he said, the anger of Yahuwah burn against them? I'm going to destroy these people. Because he's telling himself, Qahalath, not yourself. It only tends to evil. Okay, this is going to go evil. Okay, I'm not going to get, okay, I'm going to put away my anger. Because that's how Yahuwah is. It's only going to tend to evil, and he ain't going to do evil to you. For evildoers shall be cut off. But those who wait for Yahuwah shall inherit the Aydahs. In just a little while, the wicked will be no more. He said, the wicked. He said, they'll be no more. Though that you look carefully at his place, he will not be there. He said, you look carefully at it. You know it's coming on the earth, according to this 4th book of Azra. But the meek shall inherit the Aydahs, and delight themselves in the abundance of shalom. The Aynu, right? So that word for meek is Aynu. Aynu, meek, humble, afflicted, needy, lowly. Stay Aynu, stay lowly, stay that way. Stay that way. Nazarene, Asher, Shalakim, how demons get power over men. Therefore, demons, as we have just said, when once they have been able, by means of opportunity afforded them to convey themselves to base and evil actions, in the bodies of men, women, and children, that they remain in them a long time through their own negligence, because they do not seek after what is profitable for their inner beings. They necessarily compel them for the future to fulfill the desires of the demons that dwell in them. So that can be gossip, slander, hatred, jealousy, envy, strife, complaining, selfish ambition, selfish goals, lies, right, schemes, plots, adultery, fornication, anger, bitterness, resentment, wrath, right, many things, old life, past understandings, right, things done in lustful passions, things in your life, right, these are all demons on the inside of you, right, hardness of hearing, stiffness of neck, blindness of eyes, willfully sinning, willfully rebellion, right, all that's all demons. It's just demons. It has nothing to do with nothing else. It's just the desire of the demon, because the demon want to cause trouble. That's all they want to do. They don't want to do nothing else. Demons only want to cause trouble. So if you have a desire or urge to cause trouble, just know it's just a demon. It has nothing to do with nothing flying around. It's just in you to do it. It has nothing to do with nothing else. But what is worst of all at the end of the age, right, that when the demon is co-signed the ageless fire, that's why it's causing so much trouble. Of necessity, the Ruach also that obeyed him will be himself tortured in ageless fire together with his own body has polluted, because it's trying to take you to Sheol. It's trying to take you down. They want to take you to hell, right? You know, I said take you to Sheol, take you to hell. That's all they want to do. They want to take you to hell because they know they're going to hell. You're like, man, I'm going to hell at this thing over with. But you know what I'm finna do? I'm finna have a great time. I know I'm going to Sheol, but guess what? This person ain't trying to fight me at all on the inside, so therefore me and him going to Sheol, and we going to take as many people with us to Sheol. And there's people like that in the world. It is. It's people like that in the world. And they know it too. It's like, man, I made an agreement, a covenant with this thing on the inside of me. We ride to the end. Romans 12:1. I appeal to you, therefore, men, women, and children, by the mercy of Yahuwah, you present your bodies a living sacrifice. Get the demons out. Seek after what is profitable for your inner being. Sacrifice, living sacrifice, Qhdsh and acceptable to Yahuwah, which is your spiritual worship, right? You got to make sure everything's according to the pattern. There's a certain pattern. These 40 days are a pattern. Eating the omer is a pattern. Understanding it is a pattern. It is something that's leading you to eternal life. Or you're going to grumble, just like today is the 15th day of the second month. Because that's what they did. We gotta eat this mon. Still complaining about the food they gotta eat. Not even knowing that he only giving you a second Pesach or a Chag Matsah so you can understand, hey, remember that thing? It was 40 years in the wilderness, 40 days, right? And remember that? And remember they were grumbling about the bread they had to do, you gotta do it again. Remember that? I want you to think about that. I want you to understand what that is and why they wouldn't obey when he said don't go on the seventh day, don't go on the field. Why they still wouldn't listen. Those are just demons on the inside of you. It has nothing to do with it. The demons are hostile toward Yahuwah. They don't want to do what Yahuwah say. Yahuwah got to make them do it. You got to shut their behind down, right? Do not be conformed to this world. That's what's going to happen. Because the world pressuring you to be conformed to it, especially for women. They putting you out on a pedestal, right? Right? You are the poster child for the superheroes, right? Trying to get you to conform. They own you. They own you like, woo. But you know they trying to destroy the each those masculine, right? They own you. But be transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? About everybody all twitching and twisting. You got their hand to the side. Their yard supposed to be up like this. They got their hand like this, right? And all that. Do not be conformed to this world. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that by testing you may discern what the will of Yahuwah, what is good and acceptable and perfect. You gotta always do what's good. If you don't do what's good, you're gonna do evil, and you're gonna be wise to do it evil. You're gonna be good at it. The demon gonna make you so wise. You be like, man, how you did that? You're like, man, you schemed and plot that whole thing like that? Man, that's in another world. That's a whole nother realm right there. Philippians 3:12-21. Not that I have already attained. Now, some people already think they got it, right? Even people, I've been doing this. I'm like, they be like, okay. Not that I have already obtained this or am already perfect, but I press on and make it my own because Mashiach, Yahusha, has made it his own. Why? Because he did it already. The man ascended through the Rakia, all the way through the first, second, and third, all the way to the seventh Shamayim, and went to sit back at his father's right hand on his yard. And he didn't cloak himself either. The first time he came down. Brothers, I do not consider that I have made it my own, but one thing I do, of forgetting what lies behind and straining forward what lies ahead. Because you still got 29 days left. Stop thinking about yesterday and think about today. Because Satan ain't thinking about yesterday. He said, yeah, but I get you now. And again and again and again going forward. That's all he's thinking about. I press on toward the goal of the prize of the upward call of Yahuwah in Mashiach Yahusha. Let those who are mature think this way. You got to think this way. If you are mature. And if anything you think otherwise, Yahuwah will reveal that also to you. That you doing what you're supposed to do in the morning and evening sacrifices. In Bakar and Arab, if you're doing it. If you ain't, then you ain't going to get nothing revealed to you what you're doing. You're going to be immature, right? You're going to be all immature. Only let us hold true to what we have attained. Man, woman, and children. Going to verse 18. For many of whom I have often told you, and now in tears walk as enemies across the Mashiach. Their end is destruction, their God, their idol is their belly, and their kabod is their shame. With mind set on earthly things, because wisdom is better than weapons of war. Hakmah is better. But our citizenship is in the Shamayim, it says, in the Shamayim, and from it we await a Yasha, a Savior, a Yeshua, the Master, Yahushua Mashiach. Why? Because the first Shamayim is Pesach. When you get registered, then you understand your citizenship is somewhere else. It's not here on earth. Stop thinking you from, he said, it's not on earth. It's somewhere else. It's in the Shamayim, the first Shamayim. It's past the Rakia. It's past the Rakia. This a whole nother thing. Because the same distance from the surface of the earth to the first Shamayim is the same distance from the first Shamayim to the second Shamayim. Right? It's the same distance from the surface of the earth all the way to the first Shamayim, and from the first Shamayim all the way to the second Shamayim. It's a whole nother world. Like you above the Rakia. But our citizenship in the Shamayim, and from it we await our Yasha, the Master Yahushua Mashiach, who will transform our lowly body to be like his Aydah, his magnificent body, by the power of it, and enables him to subject all things to himself, his Radah. That's like we said in the beginning. Have dominion. to bring everything under his control and submissiveness, his authority. That's what he was doing. But he did it through Hakmah, wisdom. And that's the whole point. Romans 8, 6 through 11. For to set your mind on the flesh is death. That's what they were doing in the wilderness. They were all thinking about flesh, weren't they? What do you think Yahushua was thinking about? Yahushua was thinking about death. He said, lead that people. I'm going to visit all their sin, though. For to set their mind on the flesh is death. That's why they say, give us flesh. But to set your mind on the Ruach is life and shalom. That's why he said, these words I speak on you, they are Ruach, they are life. For the mind that is set on the flesh is hostile toward Yahuwah, because you got demons on the inside of you. You got Shadim. That's what it is. You got demons on the inside of you. For it does not submit to Yahuwah's law. That's why they wouldn't listen to it. That's why they went in the fields. Don't go in the fields until they ain't gonna be there. They still won't. It will never happen. Indeed, it cannot. It can't. Those who are of the flesh cannot please Yahuwah. That's why they wanted flesh, and they ate the flesh, and they went back on the 7th day and wanted more flesh. That's why Yahushua was beating them out of the temple. Right? You, however, are not in the flesh, but in the Ruach. If in fact the Ruach dwells in you, anyone who does not have the Ruach of Mashiach does not belong to him. But if Mashiach Yahushua is in you, although the body is dead because of sin, the Ruach is life because of righteousness. Because righteousness tends, or you say, Natsar, to the soul. That's what it does. Natsar to the soul. Righteousness tends to that being on the inside. When you do practice righteousness, morning, Aydah, Cogs, Muad, the practices of bringing yourself in subjection, you're tending to the fig tree. You're tending to that Natsar, to that tree, that fig tree. And then you're guarding the master on the inside of you. You're Shamar. You're guarding. And if the Ruach of him who raised Yahushua from the dead dwells in you, he who raised Mashiach Yahushua from the dead will also give life to your mortal body through his Ruach who dwells in you. But in order to tend to that nefesh with that Ruach in it, you have to practice righteousness in order to tend to it. That's how you tend to it. That's how you get in and do things. You have to practice it. If you don't, then it's not going to happen to you. People, it's not Sadiq Sadaqah. It's not something that you want to do. So therefore, that Ruach ain't going to be as prevalent in somebody who practices it a lot more than you do. And it's Romans 13, 7 through 16. Remember that your leaders, those who spoke to you to the bar, word of Elohim, consider the outcome of their way of life and imitate their amunah, their belief. Not their behaviors, the evil stuff they do, not the words they say that ain't righteous, not the conversations they have, not their mannerisms that are evil and the things that they do that are demonic. Because people do that. It's talking about a belief, like amunah, like I have a belief in something. Yahushua Mashiach is the same yesterday, today, and forever, past, present, and future. Do not be led astray by diverse teachings, for it is good for the heart to be strengthened by Khan, not by foods which have not benefited those who devoted to them. That's what Kuah did in the garden. That's why he said, since you've listened to the voice of your Isha, thorns and thistles is going to yield you. Because that's all it's going to do. You eat that strange teaching, you know what's going to happen? Thorns and thistles is going to yield you. And in pain, you're going to get a lot of pain. And he said, you're going to eat bread all the days of your life. Matter of fact, you go back to the dust, because you're going to need a lot of it. We have an altar from which those who serve the tent have no right to eat. He said, you ain't got no right to eat that. For the bodies of those animals whose blood is brought into the Qahalath places by the High Kahan as a sacrifice of sin are burned outside the camp. He said, you ain't got no right to eat this. So Yahushua also suffered outside the gate in order to sanctify the people through his own blood. Therefore, let us go to him outside the camp to bear the reproach he endured. So you got to endure this 7 days. Where do you think Yahushua at? He in Jerusalem? Nah, 40 days, he was outside the camp. The man was going, he was showing himself to everybody. He was trying to get everybody to believe. He said, for reproach, he endured. For we have no lasting city. Why do you think Yahushua ain't stay here for all along? Man, you know what? I should stay here for another 40 days. He said, man, I ain't got no lasting city. But we seek a city that is to come. Through him, let us offer Let's continue to offer a sacrifice or mitzvah, right, of praise or halal to Yahuwah. That is the fruit of the lips, and acknowledge his name. Why? He that Natsar to the fig tree will eat its fruits. You got to tend to it. He said, why I can't sing? Why I can't make a song? Because you're not tending to the fig tree. Because, fig tree grows fruit, and then it grows another fruit, and another layer, and another, and as it gets bigger, then you start to see other things start to sprout up inside of that fig tree through rain and snow and soil and wind, right? And animals hugging your tree. Because that's what animals do. They go grab the tree, right? Especially when you put a new tree. They be appreciative. It's like they cutting down all the trees, destroying the earth. But you put a new tree here, it grew. The fruit of the lips acknowledge his name. Do not neglect to do good. Don't neglect that. Because if you don't do good, you're gonna do evil. I promise you. It's not gonna be. You're gonna do evil. You're gonna be wise with it too. And share what you have. He says share, because when you share, it shows a kindness, right? It shows a kindness. It shows that you care. For such sacrifices are pleasing to Yahuwah. And if you do that, it pleases Yahuwah, not man. And he said, I ain't come here to please man. I came to please Yahuwah. And when you do it, you please him. You ain't pleasing nobody else. Psalms 119, 160 through 66, 160 through 166. The bar is truth, or amaz, from the beginning. And every one of the righteous judgments endures forever. Princes Sar have persecuted me without a cause, but my heart stand in awe of the bar. Why do you think knocking y'all want to listen to them? Even they hit 10 times to Yahudim said, you need to return to us. Then the other people said they gonna kill him. He's like, man, they persecuted me without a cause, but my heart stand in awe of y'all, you're the bar though. Rejoice at thy bar as one that findeth great spoil. I hate and abhor lying, but thy law do I love. 7 times, O Sheba a day, I do halal thee because of thy righteous judgments. Right? Great shalom have they which love thy Torah, and nothing shall offend them. He said, man, that person got all the wisdom, it ain't gonna offend me. If somebody does something to you, overlook the offenses, it ain't gonna offend me. If you love the Torah, you got intelligence. He said, it's not gonna offend me. And if it tells me to do something my flesh doesn't want to do, I'm gonna do it, and it won't offend me. Because it'll only be offensive if I don't want to do it. It's gonna offend you. If you love the Torah, it ain't gonna offend you. You're just gonna do it. You'll be like, man, it's the Torah say I can't do it. Verse 66. Yahuwah, I have hope for thy Yeshua, and done thy commandments. That's the whole point. Once you do it, then your righteousness is fulfilled, and you can revenge all disobedience. It literally cancels it all out. All of you can on 1, 2, 24 to 28. Let what you heard from the beginning abide in you. He gave Adam authority and dominion. Or you say Radah. And then what you heard from the beginning abides in you. If that's in you, if that's all inside of you, what he gave to Adam, then you too will abide in the Son and the Father, because you're in alignment. You're in agreement with him. That's all it is. I'm in agreement with the house, Yahuwah and Yahusha. If I have what in the beginning, he said, have dominion, Radah, the Ramiz, the God, the Ramiz, the Oath, and the Bahima, and the Tahanim, then I am in alignment with him. And therefore, I abide in the Son and in the Father. That's their mindset. And this is the promise he has made to us, eternal life. He said that's the promise of eternal life, right? This is Deuteronomy chapter 18. Deuteronomy chapter 18 and verse 1. 18 and 1. Deuteronomy chapter 18 and 1. The Luite, Kanim, all the tribes of Lui shall have no portion or inheritance with Yasharal. He said, you ain't got no continuing city. You see one to come. They shall eat Yahuwah's food offering as their inheritance. What do you think we eating right now? What do you think the 40 days is for? This is food offering. They shall have no inheritance among the brothers. Yahuwah is their inheritance. You, from the beginning, what you heard from the beginning abides in you, then you too will abide in the Son and in the Father, because Yahuwah is your inheritance. And as he promised them. And all, this is the promise he has made to us, eternal life. And this shall be the priest's due from the people, from those offering a sacrifice with an ox sheep, they shall give to the Kohanim and shoulder and sheep. These are all meat offerings. He said that's not, but all these are a part of food, right? To each his own, right? Everybody brings food, but he's talking about food offerings, right? That's the only thing you're supposed to be getting. Food and raiment, be content, because we ain't got no continuous city. Because you know what happens when you get a continuous city? I want food, raiment, sunglasses, whatever. You want extra stuff. You want a whole bunch of stuff. Right, going to verse 26. I write these things about those who are trying to deceive you, because you know what they're going to do? They're going to be like, it ain't food and raiment. Matter of fact, it ain't about the promises of Kohanim. I ain't got to purify myself. Matter of fact, I ain't got to do it the first 16 days. Matter of fact, I ain't got to do it for the second Pesach. Matter of fact, I ain't got to do nothing when Kohanim do. Who cares, right? I write those things about those who are trying to deceive you, but the anointing you receive from him abides in you, and you have no need that anyone should teach you. He like, so you going to let somebody teach you a strange teaching and tell you something opposite? I'm afraid of you. I'm scared of you. That's what Shaul said. I'm scared of you. Right, you going to the book of this 1 Corinthians. He said, man, I'm scared of y'all. He was like, Shaul like, I'm scared. Right, this is 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians chapter 2. 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, I'm sorry. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 1. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 1. I wish you would bear or Natsar with me in a little foolishness, or bear with me in a little foolishness. Do bear with me, for I feel a divine jealousy for you. Why? It ain't of the flesh. Since I betrothed you to one husband to present you a pure virgin to Mashiach. But I am afraid that as the serpent Nakas deceived Ka'ul by his cunning, your thoughts will be led astray from the sincere and pure devotion to Mashiach. You're supposed to be pure devotion to Yahushua Mashiach. That's it. For if someone comes and proclaims another Yahushua than the one that we proclaim, or if you receive a different Ruach from the one you received, or if you accept a different truth from the one you accepted, you put up readily enough. He's like, man, you entertain it, you eat it with your ear, you entertain it cool, your hand ain't first upon him. And then Adam, you do exactly what she do, and you listen to. And he says, indeed, I consider that I am not the least inferior to the super shalakim. Even if I am unskilled in speaking, I am not in knowledge. Indeed, in every way, we have made this plain to you in all things. Or did I commit a sin in humbling myself so that you might be exalted? Because I, Qahalath, the Allahim, Yahuwah's Amath, to you free of charge? All this is all part of it, right? 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 26. I write these things about those who are trying to deceive you. But the anointing that you receive of him abides in you, and you have no need that anyone should teach you. But as his anointing teaches you about everything, and it's true, and it's no lie, just as it has taught you, abide in him. He say, now little children, train up a child in the way he should go. When they're old, they're not going to depart from it. But if you receive something different, he like, abide in him, so that when he appears, we may have confidence and not shrink from him in shame at his coming. Right? That's the whole point. We don't want to. Where are you? Sirach 3, 17 to 23. My son and daughter, go on our business in Aydah. Meekness. So shall I be beloved of him that is approved. The greater thou art, the more humble thyself, and thou shalt find favor before Yahuwah. Many are in high places of renown, but mysteries are revealed unto the meek. Amen. For the power of Yahuwah is great, and honor with the lowly. Seek not out things that are hard for thee, neither search for things that are above thy strength. Because you say it's above your strength, because you know what happens when you get feeble and weak. No need for you to go fight a war if you ain't got Yahuwah on your side. Because your heart gonna be heavy, and your courage is gonna be abated. But what is commanded thee, think thereupon with reverence, for it is not needful for thee to see with thine eyes that are in secret. Because you know what's gonna happen when you see with your eyes the things that are in secret. Right, so this is the book of 2 Thessalonians. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 1. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 1. Now concerning the coming of our Master and our being gathered together to him. And we ask you, brothers, not to quickly be shaken in mind or alarmed. He said, what you shaking for? Because he's telling you, don't get weak. Don't get feeble-kneaded. Don't let your hands, that's what Nakhim Yah said to people when the Yahudim said 10 times return to us, and then you had the other enemies trying to kill him. So he said, now concerning the coming of our Master Yahushua and our being gathered together to him, we ask you, brothers, not to quickly be shaken in mind or alarmed, either by Ruach or a spoken word. Return to us. We coming to kill you. Or a letter seeming to be from us. He said, not even a letter. To effect that day of the Master has come. Let no one deceive you in any way. Right? For the day will not come unless rebellion comes first. And you're gonna have to look, you have to overlook all that. Or you're gonna be offended. And you don't have no teeth for rock. Yeah, overlook that posture. And it says, and the man of lawlessness be revealed. Or you want to call all them offenses, boy. Woo. Impossible. All them offenses, right? And lawlessness be a creep. You know when lawlessness comes, he trying to make your love so cold. He trying to make you cold-hearted. And love. He trying to make your love cold-hearted. For a man and the man and woman of lawlessness is revealed, the son of destruction. That's what the Malachia of destruction gonna happen to you. You trying to make a person love cold. I know how it is. It's you know how it is in the world. But it says, who opposes and exalts himself against every so-called God or object of worship, so that he takes his seat in the temple of Elohim. So who is this going to take his seat? Who are you supposed to guard inside of your temple, and you are that temple? Who are you supposed to guard within yourself? He said, you supposed to shamar the master of the house. Who is that? Yahushua Mashiach. But he going to come and try to overthrow and put himself on the seat in the temple of you in your body, proclaiming himself to be Elohim, saying, I am Yahuwah, I change not. Right? Do you not remember that when I was still with you, I told you these things? Because he's going to rise up in you. They all know about this stuff. He and everybody. Do you remember when I was still with you, I told you these things? And you know that what is restraining him now so that he may be revealed in his time. He said, man, you know what's restraining him. The bar. The word. Because the word got to be fulfilled. So the bar is restraining you for a time period when you're going to rise up and fulfill that word, that the bar for the evil person to rise up, that lawless person. That lawless person going to betray people. He's going to betray your neighbor. He's going to scandalize. He's going to betray you. Matter of fact, he's going to be inside of you. You're going to hate. Now so that he may reveal in his time. For the mystery of lawlessness is already at work. It's already there. That's why he's trying to get people to understand. Only he who now restrains it will do so until it is out of the way. And then the lawless one will be revealed. Then the truth gonna come out. It's just a matter of time. Whom the Master Yahushua will kill. He gonna do what? Who will kill the breath of his mouth and bring to nothing by the appearance of his coming. Behold, he coming with clouds. And every eye gonna see him. We just read a bunch of times he came in clouds. He said, I'm gonna kill you. I'm going to kill you, you lawless person who fall away, who betray, who hate. You're going to make other people love Ahaba grow cold against Yahuwah. I'm going to kill you. That's what Yahuwah said. I'm going to kill you. Trying to get people to doubt in their mind. Yahushua like, I'm going to kill you. Who will kill with the breath of his mouth? This is the word, the bar. And bring to nothing by the appearance of his coming, just by him showing up. The coming of the lawless one is by the activity of Shaitan, with all power and false signs and wonders. It's all false. Don't believe it. It's all false. And with all wicked deception of those who are perishing. Why? Because you don't believe the truth. He said, you shall know the truth shall make you free. The bar words are speaking to you, they are ruach and they are life. You're not going to perish, but you're going to have everlasting life. And Yahushua will raise you up on the last day. It is written in the Nabi'im, they shall all be taught of Yahuwah. Because they refuse to love the truth. There we go. He said, you don't love the truth. If you refuse to love the truth, I assure you that the demons got a big desire for you in the future, but they being withheld to do it only for a point in time. Because they refuse to love the truth, and so be saved. So be saved. Therefore, Elohim sends them a strong delusion. Yahuwah gonna send you a strong delusion, so that they may believe what is false. And then what's gonna happen after that? In order that they all may be condemned, who did not believe the truth and had pleasure in unrighteousness, because righteousness tends to your soul. It tends to the fig tree. It protects the master. It shamars the master. It Natsar, the fig tree. It tends to the fruits. It tends to your soul. But if you have unrighteousness, then it will be evil. Verse 13, but we ought always to give thanks to Yahuwah, to our Elohim for you, brothers and sisters, beloved by the Master, because Elohim chose you as the first fruit to be saved. He said he chose you through sanctification, or you mean purification. You know, all that stuff you got to do for the purification of the Kohanim, by the Ruach, and belief in the truth. How you believe the truth? Be doers of the truth and not hearers only, deceiving your own self. That's how you believe the truth. There ain't no, you believe it by you doing it. And then be doers, that's how you get the pardon. And by you get the pardon, you continue to the end, and you get the pardon when he comes back here. But if he catch you, he gonna get you. He said, I'm going to kill you. Because you're gonna be lawless. And he can't have no lawlessness in Yahuwah's kingdom overflowing righteousness. Unrighteousness can't dwell with righteousness. It can't happen. It's just going to be conflict. Straight up. Right? To be saved. It says, verse 14, to this he called you through our truth, so that you may obtain the kabod of our master Yahushua Mashiach. So then, brothers, Akim, Nishim, Isha, stand firm and hold to the traditions that you were taught by us. What traditions? There's only one type of traditions they're supposed to be taught. What do you think traditions he's talking about? The Torah. Either spoken by the bar or by letter. Now may the Master Yahushua Mashiach himself and the Elohim, our Father, who loved us and gave us eternal comfort and good hope through Khan, comfort your hearts and establish them in every work and word. Right? So going back to Sirach 3:22. But what is commanded thee, think thereupon with reverence. You gotta make sure you always have your mind on it. For it is not needful for thee to see with thine eyes that things are in secret. Be not curious in unnecessary matters, right? Unnecessary things, unnecessary strange things, teachings, all that. For more things are showed unto thee. So when he says more things are showed unto thee, that's what Yahuwah had in the garden. They thought more things were showed unto them, and Yahuwah already told them what to think on. And she was curious. More things are shown unto thee than men, women, and children understand, right? That's what he says, right? This is the Essene of truth. The Essenes, last thing. This is the last thing. This is the Essene of communions. Essene of communion, page 262, no, 263. And on the Shabbat evening, so that's coming in, say these words. The Heavenly Father and I are one. He said, how old are you? And close your eyes, sons of light, and in sleep enter into the unknown realms of the Heavenly Father. And you will bathe in the light of the stars, and the Heavenly Father will hold you in his hand and cause a spring of knowledge to well up within you. Where? Within you. A fountain of power, pouring forth living waters, a flood of love, and all-embracing wisdom. Because wisdom is better than workings of water. Wisdom is stronger than 10 rulers who are in the city. Especially the shouting of 10 shouting rulers in the midst of a city. Wisdom, Hakmah, is greater than 10 shouting rulers in the midst of a city. Why do you think they sent 10 times to knock him out? To stop what he doing. And it says, pouring forth living waters, a flood of love and all-embracing wisdom, like splendor of eternal light. And one day the eyes of your Ruach shall open. So you got to continually practice this. In order for the eyes of your Ruach to open. You know how your onion? You say, my eyes are open. He be like, man, I can open that thing a little bit more. It's only about that. You can see a little bit. He said, I can open that thing up real big. And you shall know all things. He said, I just open your eyes a little bit more. I mean, you'll know all things. He said, so what does that got to do with anything? And that's the whole point of this whole thing. Right, this is the book of Psalms. This is the last thing I'm done. Psalms. Book of Psalms. Tahalim. Chapter 74, verse 1. Actually going to Psalms chapter 74 and verse 10. It says, how long, O Elohim, is the foe to scoff? Is the enemy to revile your name forever? Why do you hold back your hand, your right hand? Take it from the fold of your garment and destroy them. Yes, that's what people want. But guess what? Yeah, Elohim, my king, is from of old working salvation in the midst of the earth. That's why he's not doing it. You divided the sea by your might. You broke the heads of the sea monsters on the waters. You crushed the head of Leviathan. You gave him as food to the creatures of the wilderness. You split open springs and brooks. You dried up the flowing streams. Yours is the day, and yours is the night. You have established the heavenly lights and the sun. You have fixed all the boundaries of the earth. You have made summer and winter. Right? So all that's a part of what he does. But guess what? Remember this, O Yahuwah, how the enemy scoffs. And they don't believe it. They don't believe it. And a foolish people reviles your name. Because they don't believe that Yahuwah made everything. Do not deliver the soul of your dove, oh, there we go, your Yuna, to the wild beasts. Do not forget the life of your poor forever. So we look at all that. We look at Yahushua Mashiach. Look at the man in the gun that chase away the foxes. The one who provides, the one who sits in the gun, who allows us to see and understand who he is. For his words are sweet and his face is lovely. He said, how beautiful. He said, wisdom make a man's face to shine, or a woman. It make your whole face to shine, right? So this book of, let me go there. So this is the book of Ecclesiastes. This book of Ecclesiastes. Why does he say this? This book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 8 and verse 1. Qahalath, Ecclesiastes chapter 8, verse 1. Who is like the wise and who knows the interpretation of a thing? A man's hakmah or a woman's hakmah make his face to shine. And the hardness of his face is changed. Why? You go from angry type of figure, wrathful, to now you put on intelligence, you put on wisdom, you quiet contention, you overlook offenses, you put on your tikfarah, you go to sleep in peace, you can close your eyes, you will pour out you a fountain of living water, and he say, I'll open your eyes a little bit more, and you know all things. We look at all that, we look at Yahushua Mashiach. We look at the true light of life, the true word of Yahuwah Elohim that created all things. The one who gives understanding to our inner man, our inner being. Who tranquilizes us and brings us to that shalom and relaxation within ourselves. Allow us to sit in the field of flowers and delight in his name. So we look at all the things that's happened and everything that's going to happen within us. But the love of Yahuwah constrained us. We just judge that one died for all. And if one died for all, we were all dead. We were all dead, but just one died, that we all may live. And you should be grateful for that. You should be grateful for the opportunity to understand and to still be here on earth. For there are many things to be said and many things to understand. But he said, just like I have many things to say unto you, but you're not ready to bear it yet because you're not strong enough. And being that you ain't strong enough because your knees are feeble and your hands are weak, you have a heavy heart and your courage is gone, because you're going to need courage to carry it. You're going to need courage to walk it out. You're going to need courage to explain it. You're going to need courage not to stumble. For the world is full of wickedness, and one has to walk in this righteousness always, and not to love the world nor the things in the world. For all that's in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. The pride of life is something that will end one day. It all will end. But at the same time, eternal life is within you, and it always will be there. If you one will hold fast and tend to righteousness within oneself, tend to the fig tree, Natsar the fig tree, and tend and Shamar, the master house, and the master in the house, Yahushua Mashiach, inside of you. So we look at all these things that go in that business that Aydah, and thus shall I be beloved him that's approved. The greater thou art, the more humble thyself. Thou shalt find favor before Yahuwah. Many are in high place of renown, but mysteries revealed unto the meek. The Aydah, the meek shall inherit the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth.